In the shadow of ancient mountains, a stone structure stands, silent, weathered, yet undeniably precise. Crafted from colossal stones, each weighing tons, it defies our understanding of engineering. How could people, without modern tools, create something so advanced? Was it the work of a lost civilization, or did they possess knowledge and skills we've yet to rediscover? For centuries, archaeologists and scientists have puzzled over its origins, but the answers remain just out of reach. Today, we dive into this mystery, exploring the secrets of a prehistoric marvel that challenges everything we thought we knew about our past. Nestled in the rolling hills of Menorca, an island in the Mediterranean known for its rugged beauty and ancient secrets, lies a structure that has long intrigued archaeologists, historians, and curious minds alike: the Naveta des Tudons. The name itself, evoking the echo of distant time, means the Naveta of the Tudons, named after the area in which it rests, a place that feels as timeless as the structure itself. The Naveta des Tudons stands as an imposing monument, a large stone burial chamber dating back to the Bronze Age, around 1500 BCE. Its distinctive shape, a near-perfectly preserved inverted boat, or naveta, rises from the earth like a silent sentinel. The walls, constructed from massive limestone slabs, slope inward as they ascend, creating a roof that tapers sharply to a point. Its proportions are almost otherworldly in their precision, a structure both simple and sophisticated, as if designed with a sense of purpose that transcends mere utility. Standing before the Naveta des Tudons, one might be struck by the stark, almost eerie silence that surrounds it. No city, no bustling village, no grand fortress, only the windswept plains and the distant hum of nature. There's a solitude here that makes it easy to imagine the people who built it. But who were they? And why did they build this monumental structure? The Naveta is a tomb, a communal burial site, and that much is undisputed. Excavations have revealed human remains, along with grave goods, suggesting that the tomb was used for centuries. Some believe it was a place of ritual and reverence, a final resting place for the island's elite or their ancestors. The precise number of bodies entombed within remains uncertain, as does the exact identity of those buried. But the tomb was not merely for the dead. It was a place of memory, a marker of lineage, perhaps a symbol of the community's power, unity, or ancestral ties. The mainstream explanation is relatively clear. The Naveta des Tudons was built by the Taliotic culture, a prehistoric civilization that flourished on the Balearic Islands. These people are known for their distinctive stone constructions, including talayots, tower-like structures, navetas, and other megalithic formations. The purpose of the naveta is often described in pragmatic terms, as a burial chamber, a monument to the deceased, and a place to honor the dead through ritual. Yet, as with many ancient structures, the more one looks, the more questions arise. While the structure itself is impressive, the methods behind its construction remain shrouded in mystery. How did the Taliotic people, with limited tools and technology, manage to cut and transport such large stones? What drove them to create a tomb with such architectural complexity? And why choose such an unusual shape, a boat-shaped burial mound? Some theorists have suggested that the boat-like design could hold symbolic significance. In many cultures, boats are associated with passage, not just across water, but also through the boundary of life and death. Was this structure a kind of vessel meant to ferry the souls of the deceased into the afterlife, much like the ancient Egyptians' grand tombs with their elaborate burial rituals? Could the shape be tied to an ancient myth or celestial alignment, a representation of the seafaring beliefs that dominated this island's early inhabitants? But this is where the mystery deepens. Although much of the surrounding landscape is dotted with similar megalithic structures, none quite match the scale and precision of the Naveta des Tudons. Some have even proposed that the site's placement, atop a slight rise, may not have been coincidental. Was it meant to be seen from a distance, a beacon of sorts? A signal to those who would come after that something important, something beyond the grave, was entombed here? Then, there is the silence of the surrounding landscape. The island's prehistoric inhabitants were skilled stoneworkers, but there is little evidence of a grand settlement near the Naveta. The isolation of the tomb, set far from any obvious habitation, hints at a purpose more esoteric, something perhaps not just for the living, but for the unseen forces they believed surrounded them. And yet, the unanswered questions linger. Why did the Taliatic people choose such an extraordinary method of burial? What role did this tomb play in their spiritual beliefs, their social structures, and their understanding of death? Was it an isolated anomaly, or does it speak to a broader, deeper meaning hidden in the sands of time? The Naveta des Tudons still stands, silently, guarding its secrets. And as the winds sweep across the Menorcan plains, one can't help but wonder, what exactly was it meant to convey? As we leave the tranquil solitude of Menorca, we journey eastward to a land rich in history, where ancient civilizations rose and fell across the ages. Among the countless stories etched into the stones of this vast and storied region, one site stands as a testament to the ambition and mystery of the people who once called it home. The colossal megalithic ruins of Takht-e Soleyman, located in the rugged hills of northwest Iran. Takht-e Soleyman, which translates to Throne of Solomon, is an ancient site that seems to belong to a time long before the written word, a place where myth and reality blur into something altogether enigmatic. The name itself invites wonder, evoking visions of kings and prophets, of ancient wisdom and hidden knowledge. But as we delve deeper into the site, we discover that the true history of Takht-e Soleyman is just as mysterious as its name. The ruins lie nestled in a serene valley surrounded by mountains, offering a quiet, almost reverential atmosphere. The centerpiece of the site is a massive circular temple complex, thought to have been constructed by the ancient Sassanid Empire in the 5th and 6th centuries CE. At the heart of the site is a crater lake, its shimmering waters believed to have held spiritual significance. The lake, which seems to breathe life into the surrounding landscape, forms the focal point of the ruins. Some scholars suggest that this was a sacred water source, perhaps connected to Zoroastrian fire worship or other regional religious practices. But as we examine the layout and scale of the structures, we begin to ask, was Takht-e Soleyman truly built for religious rituals, or did it serve another, more mysterious purpose? The main structure of Takht-e Soleyman is a massive stone temple built atop a raised platform, with towering walls that seem to rise from the earth like ancient sentinels. The temple's design is both grand and austere, with its imposing gates and wide courtyards that would have once echoed with the sounds of ceremonies and rituals. But while the architectural beauty of the site is undeniable, it is the remnants of the fire temple, a structure believed to have once housed a sacred flame, that truly captures the imagination. The fire altar, still visible within the ruins, adds to the sense of mystery. Was this sacred flame truly an eternal fire, as some have claimed? Or was it symbolic of something deeper, perhaps a connection between the earth and the divine, a link between the tangible and the spiritual? As with many ancient sites, we can only speculate about the true purpose of such rituals, leaving the fire's flame as a symbol of something lost in time, forever obscured by the veil of history. However, Takht-e Soleyman's significance goes far beyond its religious role. Some researchers have suggested that the site may have been the seat of an ancient royal palace, perhaps even the capital of an unknown kingdom. The vastness of the ruins, combined with their impressive engineering, hints at a civilization with extraordinary resources and knowledge. But despite extensive excavation and study, no definitive evidence has been uncovered to confirm the identity of the rulers who once inhabited this place. Were they a lost dynasty, or were they part of a greater empire whose history has yet to be uncovered? Adding another layer of intrigue to Takht-e Soleyman is the architectural sophistication of the site. The large stones that form the structure's walls are meticulously cut and fit together with such precision that even modern construction techniques seem to pale in comparison. Some parts of the walls are so well crafted that they appear almost seamless, raising questions about the advanced technology and techniques employed by the builders. How did ancient architects, with seemingly primitive tools, achieve such remarkable feats of engineering? Was there a forgotten knowledge or lost technique that has since been lost to time? Perhaps even more perplexing is the sacred lake that sits at the center of the ruins. The waters, which feed into an ancient channel system, have long been associated with ritual purification. Yet there is something unsettling about the lake's isolation, a sense that it serves a purpose far beyond the purely functional. Was it meant to reflect the heavens, or perhaps to act as a conduit for divine power? Some even speculate that the lake's waters may have once been used in secret rites, with the builders of Takht-e Soleyman knowing more about the sacred properties of water than we do today. Was this a place where kings and priests could commune with the divine, or did the lake hold more esoteric significance linked to lost religious or astronomical knowledge? There is also a strange, almost haunting detail about the site: the carvings that adorn some of the stone surfaces. These carvings, which appear to depict a mix of human figures and celestial symbols, remain a subject of debate among scholars. Could they be remnants of an ancient myth, or do they represent a forgotten religion, a belief system that has yet to be fully understood? One particular carving, featuring what seems to be a stylized representation of a solar deity, has intrigued researchers for years. Could it be a clue to the site's original purpose, or is it merely another piece of a much larger, incomprehensible puzzle? And then there are the theories, some more grounded in historical fact, others more speculative and fringe in nature. Could Takht-e Soleyman have been a center for astronomical observation, with the position of the temple aligning with celestial events? Was it a place where kings and priests could observe the heavens and chart the movements of the stars? Or does the site hold a connection to even more ancient forces, predating the Sassanids by thousands of years? Some have gone so far as to suggest that Takht-e Soleyman was a site of extraterrestrial influence, proposing that its architectural precision and strange carvings might be evidence of contact with beings beyond our world. These ideas, though controversial, only add to the sense that there is more to Takht-e Soleyman than meets the eye. As we stand at the edge of this ancient site, surrounded by towering walls and the whisper of winds across the desert, we are left with more questions than answers. What did Takht-e Soleyman truly represent? A royal palace? A religious center? An astronomical observatory? Or something else entirely, something that still eludes our understanding? The ruins of Takht-e Soleyman remain a haunting enigma, a reminder of the greatness of a civilization that has long since faded into the annals of history. What knowledge was hidden within these walls? And what remains buried beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered? As we continue our journey into the depths of ancient mysteries, Takht-e Soleyman stands as a silent witness to a forgotten past, a past that may hold answers to questions we have yet to ask. As the sun begins its slow descent over the rolling hills of central Italy, casting long shadows over the ancient landscape, we turn our attention to another site shrouded in mystery: the Etruscan necropolises. These sprawling burial grounds, which stretch across the countryside like a forgotten kingdom of the dead, offer a glimpse into a world that flourished centuries before the rise of Rome, a civilization whose secrets remain largely buried beneath the soil. One of the most striking features of these Etruscan tombs is their sheer scale and sophistication. Located in regions like Tarquinia, Cerveteri, and Veii, the necropolises are not just simple burial grounds but sprawling cities of the dead, complete with elaborate tombs carved into the living rock. Here, ancient stone tombs rise like monuments to a lost people, their intricate carvings and designs telling tales of a culture whose influence on Rome is undeniable, yet whose origins remain enigmatic. The tombs of Tarquinia, for example, are some of the most well-preserved, with their painted walls offering a vivid portrayal of Etruscan life, rituals, and beliefs. These tombs, which date back to between the 7th and 3rd centuries BCE, are often referred to as Etruscan rock-cut tombs, or tomb chambers. Each one seems to encapsulate a moment frozen in time, a moment when the Etruscan elite were laid to rest with their belongings, painted with scenes of their lives, their hopes for the afterlife, and their connection to the divine. Some tombs are large, others more modest, but all of them are built with a careful reverence for the deceased. The most famous of these tombs are the Tomb of the Leopards and the Tomb of the Augurs in Tarquinia, with their vividly painted frescoes depicting banquets, feasts, and ritual performances. In the Tomb of the Leopards, we see nobles reclining at a feast, their faces alive with joy and conversation, while leopards, the symbol of power and strength, guard the tomb, their watchful eyes forever fixed upon the afterlife. The attention to detail in these frescoes raises questions. Why were such elaborate scenes chosen? Were they meant to preserve the essence of life for the deceased, or to act as a guide for the journey to the afterlife? What strikes the observer most about the Etruscan tombs, however, is not just their artistry, but the mystery surrounding their design. Unlike the Greek or Roman tombs that followed, which were often built with an emphasis on order and symmetry, the Etruscan tombs seem to defy conventions. The Tomb of the Reliefs in Cerveteri, for example, is famous for its sculptural reliefs that adorn its walls. These reliefs depict everyday objects, weapons, and tools, but also strange, symbolic creatures and scenes that suggest a deeper, more mystical connection to the world beyond. What did these images mean to the Etruscans? Were they symbols of protection, or did they represent something far more complex, perhaps a connection to other realms, or to the gods themselves? While mainstream historians agree that the Etruscans were deeply influenced by the cultures around them, particularly the Greeks and Near Eastern civilizations, many of the elements found in their tombs seem to point to an indigenous origin, unique to the Italian peninsula. This raises the question, who were the Etruscans, really? Where did they come from, and what was their relationship with the world around them? Some scholars have even speculated that they might have been a remnant of a much older pre-Roman civilization whose knowledge and culture were absorbed by the burgeoning Roman Empire. But the Etruscan tombs are not just a reflection of the people's beliefs. They also point to a more cryptic aspect of their civilization, their reverence for the afterlife. Etruscan tombs are often designed to simulate the experience of the afterlife itself. The elaborate tomb structures, with their intricate paintings, reliefs, and burial rituals, seem to suggest that the Etruscans believed in a life after death far more complex than that of the early Romans. In some tombs, the walls are painted to depict grand feasts and lavish banquets, as if the deceased were expected to continue their social status in the afterlife. In other tombs, there are depictions of battles and mythological scenes, hinting at a belief in an afterlife that involved both spiritual rebirth and the continuation of life's struggles. This profound belief in the afterlife is further evidenced by the burial goods that accompany the deceased. Alongside the bodies, artifacts such as gold jewelry, weapons, vases, and even chariots have been found. These items, carefully chosen and placed, seem to suggest that the Etruscans saw the afterlife as a continuation of the life they had known, one where status, wealth, and power would follow them into eternity. But why such a lavish investment in the dead? What did the Etruscans believe they would need in the afterlife, and how much of this was tied to their mystical or ritualistic beliefs? As we dig deeper into the mysteries of these tombs, we encounter unanswered questions, and some that lead into the realm of speculation. For example, the location of these tombs is highly symbolic. Many of them are positioned on the slopes of hills, with sweeping views of the surrounding landscape, as if the tombs were meant to be seen from afar. Were the Etruscans trying to maintain a connection to the world of the living? Or did these locations serve a more ritualistic purpose, perhaps to align with celestial events or the movements of the stars? The site of Veii, with its Mamertine tombs, is another example of this, suggesting a possible connection between burial sites and astronomical alignments. In some circles, there is speculation that the Etruscans were influenced by mystical knowledge, perhaps linked to astrology or even ancient extraterrestrial contact. Could the imagery in their tombs, depictions of strange creatures, celestial symbols, and otherworldly realms, point to a deeper understanding of the cosmos? Could the Etruscans have had access to knowledge lost to time, a knowledge that has yet to be fully uncovered? The tomb of the Etruscan king is perhaps the most enigmatic of all. Found near the ancient city of Cerveteri, it contained not only a wealth of treasure, but also intricate symbolic artifacts that suggest a deeper, more arcane ritual was at play. Some researchers believe that the tomb was meant to reflect not just the life of the king, but a cosmic order, a bridge between the living and the dead, the earthly and the divine. Was this a tomb for an ordinary ruler, or did it hold the remains of someone who possessed secrets that have since been lost to history? The Etruscan necropolises, with their ancient tombs, reliefs, and paintings, remain a puzzle, a civilization whose true story has yet to be fully told. Who were these people, and why did they leave behind such profound yet cryptic markers of their beliefs? Was it their immense wealth and their spiritual depth that shaped their burial practices, or was there something more to their culture, an esoteric knowledge lost to time? The mystery of the Etruscan tombs endures, a haunting reminder that even in the world's most carefully studied civilizations, there are still echoes of the unknown. What, we must ask, is hidden within the silent stones, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? As we leave the familiar landscapes of ancient Italy behind, we turn our gaze eastward, to the vast and arid expanses of the Indus Valley, where a civilization once thrived in relative isolation and mystery. Among the remnants of this enigmatic world lies the city of Dholavira, a place that challenges our understanding of urban planning, engineering, and ancient society. A stone megalithic city that has withstood the ravages of time, Dholavira offers us a glimpse into a civilization that flourished more than 4,000 years ago. Dholavira is not just a city, it is a monument to an unknown people whose knowledge of architecture and urban development was far ahead of its time. Located on the arid island of Kadir in the Kutch region of Gujarat, India, Dholavira sits in stark contrast to the surrounding desert, its ruins rising from the dust like the ghostly remnants of a once thriving metropolis. The site is one of the 5 major cities of the ancient Harappan civilization, known also as the Indus Valley Civilization, a civilization whose achievements continue to confound modern scholars. What stands out most about Dholavira is its sheer scale and complexity. The site covers an area of more than 120 hectares, with massive walls, gateways, and a well-planned grid of streets that suggest a highly organized urban society. In many ways, Dholavira was a marvel of ancient engineering, with a system of reservoirs and water management structures that indicate a deep understanding of hydrology. The city's layout is meticulously planned, with wide streets, public squares, and an elaborate system of drainage, features that would not be out of place in a modern metropolis. The most striking feature of Dholavira, however, is its megalithic stone structures. Large blocks of stone were carefully cut and arranged to form massive walls, many of which remain standing today, defying the elements and the passage of time. These stone structures, some of which are more than 12 feet high, were built with such precision that it is difficult to understand how the people of Dholavira, with their limited tools, were able to construct them. The walls are aligned with remarkable accuracy, suggesting not only architectural expertise, but also a sophisticated understanding of geometry and astronomy. Yet, despite the grandeur and sophistication of Dholavira, much about its past remains shrouded in mystery. One of the most puzzling aspects of the site is the lack of clear evidence about its original purpose. Was it a religious center, a political capital, or perhaps a hub for trade? The absence of palatial structures or large, elaborate temples, common features in other ancient civilizations, has led some scholars to speculate that Dholavira may have been a place of astronomical significance, its layout aligned with celestial bodies. Could the city have been designed not just for the living, but also for the stars? The city is divided into several distinct sections, and one of the most notable features of these divisions is the fortified citadel at the highest point of the city. Here, a series of massive stone walls and gates stand as silent sentinels, guarding what might have been a ceremonial or governing space. This fortified area, surrounded by a series of well-planned streets, could have served as the heart of the city, where rulers or priests may have conducted important rituals. But who exactly lived in this citadel, and what role did it play in the daily life of the inhabitants? Then there are the water management systems, which are both ingenious and mysterious. Dholavira contains a complex network of reservoirs, water channels, and even large step wells, designed to store and distribute water in an area where rainfall is scarce. These structures were built to capture and store water during the monsoon season, ensuring a reliable supply throughout the year. The engineering required to design and construct such systems is remarkable, and it raises the question, did the people of Dholavira have an advanced understanding of hydraulics, or did they possess knowledge that has since been lost to time? However, it is not just the city's physical structures that are perplexing. It is also the symbols found within the ruins. Carvings on stone slabs, seals, and pottery pieces have been discovered, some of which feature geometric patterns, animals, and even what some have described as proto-writing. These symbols, though still undeciphered, suggest that the people of Dholavira had a complex system of communication and possibly a written language. But why, after all these centuries, does their script remain a mystery? Could it hold the key to understanding their culture, their beliefs, or their relationship with the gods? One particularly mysterious discovery at Dholavira is the giant inscription found on a large stone slab, an inscription that has yet to be deciphered. The carving is made up of large, uniform blocks arranged in a grid-like fashion, with a series of repeating symbols. Some have suggested that this inscription may be a royal decree or an important message, but the true meaning remains elusive. Could this be the key to understanding the civilization of Dholavira? Or is it merely a relic of a lost language, never to be fully understood? Perhaps the greatest enigma surrounding Dholavira is the collapse of this once thriving city. What led to the abandonment of such a carefully planned and sophisticated urban center? There are no signs of destruction by war, no evidence of invaders or outside threats. Some have speculated that the city's decline may have been caused by climate change, a shift in the natural environment that led to a decrease in rainfall and a failure of the water management systems. Others suggest that Dholavira may have been abandoned for more spiritual reasons, perhaps due to a shift in religious or societal values. Could the people of Dholavira, in their search for meaning, have chosen to leave their grand city behind for a more ascetic way of life? Or was there some other, more cosmic reason for the city's sudden desertion? Despite the remarkable discoveries at Dholavira, the questions remain. The city's stone megaliths stand as a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of its builders. Yet they also speak of a civilization whose full story has not yet been told. What was the true purpose of this city, and what knowledge did its people possess? Was it simply a city of traders, or was there something deeper, something more profound, hidden within its walls? Could Dholavira have been a center of knowledge, a place of astronomical worship, or even a site of lost technological advancements? As we stand before the ruins of Dholavira, its stones whisper their secrets into the wind, and we are left to ponder, what, in the end, remains hidden within the ancient walls of this Indus Valley megalithic marvel? What truths have slipped through the cracks of time, waiting to be uncovered? As we move from the wind-swept plains of the Indus Valley to the sun-bleached shores of the Aegean Sea, we arrive at one of the most famous and enigmatic archaeological sites in the world, the ancient city of Troy. Known largely through Homer's epic, the Iliad, Troy has captivated imaginations for centuries, its very name synonymous with myth, war, and the gods. Yet, as we venture into its earliest layers, those of Troy 1 to 2, we encounter a history that remains as layered and elusive as the city itself. Troy lies on the Çanakkale Peninsula in modern-day Turkey, and from the moment you set foot on its soil, the air feels thick with the weight of antiquity. The site of Hisarlik, where Troy once stood, offers sweeping views of the Dardanelles Strait, a strategic waterway that has been at the crossroads of civilizations for millennia. Even today, the remains of Troy's earliest settlement, Troy I and Troy II, evoke a sense of mystery, a reminder of a time when history and myth were often indistinguishable. The Troy I layer, believed to date from the early Bronze Age, around 3000 BCE, reveals a fortified city with massive stone walls and a central citadel. These walls, built with large, rough-hewn stones, seem primitive compared to later versions of Troy's fortifications, but their purpose is unmistakable. They speak of a city under threat, one that understood the importance of defense and permanence in a volatile world. The structures here are simple, with rectangular houses and open courtyards, but there is something undeniably purposeful about the layout, as if the inhabitants knew they were building not just for the present, but for posterity. As we move deeper into Troy, too, we encounter even more monumental changes. This layer, dating from roughly 2600 BCE, shows significant advancements in both architecture and organization. The fortifications become larger, more refined, with ashlar masonry, stones cut with precision, fitting together like puzzle pieces. But it is the gateways and the defensive walls that truly capture attention. The famed Scaean Gate, or at least its early predecessor, might have stood in this phase, offering a glimpse of the grandeur and strategic importance that Troy would later become known for. But while these walls and gates speak to military defense, they also suggest a deeper mystery. What exactly did the people of Troy believe they were protecting? Despite the sophistication of the city's defenses, there are no grand palaces or monumental structures within Troy I and II. This absence raises immediate questions. Was Troy a military stronghold for a people who valued defense over social or political hierarchy, or did the city's layout hint at something far more esoteric? Perhaps, buried beneath these walls and their shadows, is a civilization with deeper mysteries than mere warfare. The city's citadel, built atop a raised mound, offers another puzzle. It was here that the early inhabitants of Troy likely lived, their homes clustered together in relative simplicity. Yet within the homes and buildings of this citadel, artifacts of extraordinary quality have been found. Finely crafted pottery, tools, and jewelry, some bearing symbols whose meanings are still not entirely understood. Was this a reflection of the wealth of the people of Troy, or did these objects carry symbolic significance? Perhaps to gods, ancestors, or astral forces? What can we glean from the artifacts found here about the culture, beliefs, and knowledge of these early Trojans? But the most striking feature of Troy I and II is not the material remains. It is the absence of evidence. Despite the apparent sophistication of the city's fortifications and the clues to an organized and industrious society, there is no clear indication of what the people of Troy actually did. The city's inhabitants left few written records, and the artifacts that have been uncovered are not abundant enough to paint a full picture of daily life. Were these people traders, farmers, warriors, or something else entirely? Why is there such a stark lack of evidence about their daily existence? Some scholars suggest that the Indo-European migration brought influences from distant lands, potentially shaping the city's architectural style and cultural practices. But there is also the possibility that Troy I and II were not merely cultural expressions of a larger group. They may have been something more mysterious. Some have posited that Troy may have been a city built as a sacred center, one whose primary purpose was not trade or war, but ritual or worship. Were the fortifications designed not only to protect the city from external threats, but to defend a sacred space within? Could the city have been a pilgrimage site, where people came to honor a god, a king, or a celestial being? Further compounding the mystery is the sudden destruction of Troy II. Around 2300 BCE, the city was violently destroyed, possibly by fire, leaving behind a layer of ash and ruin. But what caused this destruction? Was it an invasion, an internal uprising, or something more natural, a catastrophic event like an earthquake or a climatic shift? Some theorists even suggest that Troy II could have been destroyed in a ritualistic act, as if the city was deliberately brought to an end. Could the fall of Troy have been a sacred event, a symbolic closure to an era, or a ritual of transformation? As we move through these early layers, we are reminded that Troy is a city not just of stone but of myth. While modern archaeology paints a picture of a bustling, fortified settlement, ancient texts and later Greek myths speak of a city embroiled in divine wars and tragic heroism. The Trojan War, immortalized by Homer, casts a long shadow over the ruins of Troy, and its echoes, whether true or metaphorical, seem to resonate through the stones themselves. Could the earliest layers of Troy, those of Troy I and Troy II, be remnants of a civilization that existed long before the war of myth? Was this the city of the gods and the mortals, where the boundaries between the divine and the human were blurred? Or were these merely the humble beginnings of a civilization that would rise to prominence only later, obscured by time and legend? The mysteries of Troy I and II persist, woven into the very fabric of the site itself. Each stone, each fragment of pottery, each unmarked wall holds a secret. Was this an early city of warriors, a center of trade, or something else entirely, something that has yet to be fully uncovered? As we leave the gates of Troy, its ancient walls standing quietly under the weight of millennia, we are left to wonder, what other truths might still lie buried in the soil of this storied city, and what perhaps has been lost to time forever? As we leave behind the mighty walls of Troy and travel eastward through the vast expanses of Anatolia, we arrive at a site that remains largely overshadowed by its more famous counterparts in the ancient world, yet one that harbors secrets as elusive as any of the great civilizations of antiquity, Tavşanlı Höyük. Nestled in the heart of central Turkey, Tavşanlı Höyük is an ancient mound, or tell, that rises gently from the surrounding plains, its stone structures offering tantalizing glimpses into a forgotten world. The site itself is deceptively quiet. From a distance, Tavşanlı Höyük might seem like nothing more than a modest hill, its contours softened by the passage of time and the sweep of wind and rain. Yet beneath this seemingly unassuming surface lies a rich tapestry of history, woven into the very fabric of the mound itself. The settlement, which dates back to the early Bronze Age, approximately 3000 to 2000 BCE, is home to a series of stone structures that, while not as monumental as the grand citadels or temples of other ancient cultures, hold a deep and persistent mystery. The first thing one notices when approaching the site is the remarkable use of stone. Unlike the typical mud brick and timber constructions of the region during this period, Tavşanlı Höyük's buildings are made primarily of large, rough-hewn stones. These stones, carefully stacked and arranged, form the remains of buildings that were once densely packed together. There is no doubt that this was a highly organized settlement, one that invested significant time and effort into creating a durable, lasting structure. The absence of more fragile materials suggests an understanding of both the practical and the symbolic qualities of stone. But what exactly were these stone buildings used for? Were they dwellings, communal spaces, or something else entirely? The layout of the site does not immediately offer a clear answer. Some of the structures appear to have been domestic, with hearths and storage areas, while others seem to have had a more ritualistic or ceremonial function. One of the most intriguing features of Tavşanlı Höyük is the large, rectangular rooms that appear throughout the site, many of which are divided by thick stone walls. The arrangement of these rooms suggests that there may have been a deliberate effort to create a certain flow of space, one that would facilitate specific activities, perhaps those of a ritual or social nature. Were these rooms intended for communal gathering, or did they serve some other, more mysterious purpose? One of the most puzzling discoveries at Tavşanlı Höyük is the absence of large public structures, such as temples or palaces, which are often found in other contemporary settlements. The stone buildings here do not fit neatly into the category of either domestic or civic architecture. This has led some researchers to suggest that Tavşanlı Höyük may have been a sacred center, perhaps a place where rituals and ceremonies took place on a regular basis. Could it have been a site of religious significance, where the people of this early Anatolian society gathered to commune with the gods or to mark celestial events, as we've seen in other ancient sites? There are also the artifacts found at Tavşanlı Höyük, fragments of pottery, small figurines, and tools that hint at a society deeply engaged in both everyday life and symbolic practices. Of particular interest are the stone objects that have been uncovered, many of which are carved with intricate designs. These stone carvings, though modest in scale, suggest a people who understood the importance of visual language, whether for spiritual or social expression. Some of these objects appear to be ritual implements, their precise function lost to time, while others seem to bear motifs or symbols that have yet to be deciphered. Were these symbols connected to astronomical knowledge, as seen in other ancient cultures? Or did they represent ancestral worship, a connection to the divine that we are only beginning to understand? The mystery deepens further when we examine the construction techniques of Tavşanlı Höyük. The stones used in the buildings are not simply piled together haphazardly. They are carefully selected and shaped, with attention given to how they fit together. In some cases, the stones seem to have been smoothed or carved to a degree that suggests the use of advanced techniques for their time. How, with limited tools and technology, did the builders of Tavşanlı Höyük achieve such precision? Did they possess knowledge of construction methods that has since been forgotten? Or was there something more to their techniques, perhaps some lost art of masonry that we have yet to rediscover? The most perplexing aspect of Tavşanlı Höyük, however, is its sudden abandonment. At some point, the settlement was seemingly deserted, its buildings left to fall into ruin. There is no clear indication of why this occurred. No signs of war or natural disaster, no evidence of a decline in the city's prosperity. Could the people of Tavşanlı Höyük have simply moved on, perhaps due to a change in climate or resources? Or was the abandonment part of a more spiritual or ritualistic event, a deliberate departure from the site, marking the end of an era? Some speculate that the site's ritual significance may have played a role in its abandonment. Could the site have been used for a specific purpose for a time, only to be abandoned once that purpose was fulfilled? As we delve further into the mystery of Tavşanlı Höyük, we are left with more questions than answers. What was the true purpose of the site? Was it a settlement, a ceremonial center, or something else entirely? The absence of large monumental structures suggests that this was not a city in the traditional sense. Yet the scale of the stone buildings and the effort invested in their construction speak to a people who understood the importance of permanence. The artifacts found at the site hint at a deeper cultural and spiritual life, but the exact nature of those beliefs remains elusive. Tavşanlı Höyük stands as a quiet enigma, its stones holding secrets that have yet to be fully understood. As the winds blow across the plains of Anatolia, carrying the whispers of a long-forgotten past, we are left to wonder, what knowledge, what practices, what beliefs might still lie buried beneath the soil of this ancient site? And why, after all these centuries, does it remain a mystery, its true purpose just out of reach? As the rolling hills of southern India fade into the dense forests of the western Ghats, a hidden mystery waits, etched into the landscape. Here, in the quiet town of Marayoor, nestled in the Idukki district of Kerala, lies one of the most puzzling and lesser-known megalithic sites in the world, the Dolmens of Marayoor. These ancient stone structures, which dot the hillsides like silent sentinels, have long captivated archaeologists and historians alike, yet their origins and purpose remain shrouded in uncertainty. The Dolmens, large stone tombs with horizontal capstones supported by upright stones, are scattered across the landscape, particularly in the Marayoor Valley. The site itself is striking. The dolmens, numbering in the hundreds, are made of massive slabs of granite, which seem out of place amidst the dense jungle. The trees around them grow thick, their roots twisting around the stones as if nature itself is trying to reclaim the monuments. But despite the encroachment of time and nature, these stone structures stand firm, silent witnesses to a past that has long since faded into legend. At first glance, the dolmens may appear to be nothing more than ancient graves, a burial tradition like many others around the world. Yet there is something unique about the dolmens of Marayoor. The sheer number of these structures in such a concentrated area raises intriguing questions about the people who built them. Why would such a remote and rugged location serve as the site for so many tombs? Were these people the ancestors of the Dravidian cultures, or was this an entirely separate group, with their own customs and beliefs? The dolmens themselves are simple in design, yet monumental in their presence. Typically, each dolmen consists of a set of vertical stones, forming a rectangular or circular structure, with a large stone placed on top to form the capstone. Some of the dolmens are circular or tomb-like, while others are shaped in a more linear fashion, as though the builders had an intention beyond mere burial. Inside, there are signs that the structures may have been used for ritual purposes, with evidence of fire pits, offerings, and even animal bones. These remnants suggest that the dolmens could have served not only as tombs, but also as sites of ceremony, places where the living interacted with the dead, seeking communion with ancestors or the gods. One of the most enigmatic aspects of the Marayoor Dolmens is their age. While it is difficult to pinpoint an exact date, the dolmens are believed to date back to the Neolithic or Chalcolithic periods, possibly as early as 2000 BCE. Yet, the manner in which these dolmens were constructed remains a puzzle. The granite stones used in their construction are massive, some weighing several tons, and it is unclear how the builders of the time, without the aid of advanced tools, were able to transport, shape, and arrange these stones with such precision. Could they have had access to a lost knowledge of engineering and geometry? Or was there some unknown method employed to move and lift these massive stones? Despite the impressive scale and complexity of the dolmens, there is no clear evidence as to their purpose beyond burial. What sets the dolmens of Marayoor apart from other megalithic tombs is the mystery surrounding their cultural context. The region, rich in its ancient traditions, has never yielded definitive answers as to who built these structures or why. While some believe the dolmens were part of a tribal society, others speculate that they may have been part of an ancient ritualistic tradition, possibly linked to the worship of ancient deities or nature spirits. It is tempting to imagine that these dolmens were part of a larger, once flourishing civilization, now lost to time. Some researchers have even proposed that the people of Marayoor were in some way connected to the ancient Dravidians, whose culture spread across southern India and Sri Lanka. Could the dolmens have been built by a group of early Dravidian settlers who used them as both tombs and symbols of power? Or were they constructed by an even older, more enigmatic civilization whose name and culture have been erased by time? Further complicating the puzzle is the lack of written records associated with the dolmens. In most other ancient cultures, megalithic structures are accompanied by some form of written language or inscriptions, but no such markings have been found at Marayoor. This absence only deepens the enigma. Were the dolmens meant to preserve memories of a culture that had no written tradition? Or were they perhaps designed to communicate something beyond the realm of ordinary human understanding, messages to the gods or to the afterlife? Some researchers have even suggested that the dolmens of Marayoor may be connected to the cosmic or astronomical knowledge of the ancient builders. Could these stones have been placed in specific alignments to track the movements of celestial bodies, just as other ancient structures around the world align with the stars and the sun? The idea that the dolmens were not only tombs, but also markers of cosmic significance is an intriguing one. Could these stone structures have been used to observe eclipses, solstices, or other astronomical events that were of great importance to the builders? In addition, there are some local legends that add a layer of mystery to the dolmens. According to some stories, the dolmens were said to be built by an ancient tribe of giants, whose extraordinary strength enabled them to move the enormous stones. These tales, passed down through generations, speak of a time long before history, before even the first dynasties of Indian civilization. Were these stories simply folklore, or do they contain fragments of a deeper truth, pointing to a civilization whose true nature we have yet to fully understand? As we stand among the dolmens of Marayoor, their stones worn by centuries of rain and wind, we are left to ponder their true purpose. Was this a site of simple burial, or was it a sacred place, designed to serve as a bridge between the living and the dead? Did the builders of these dolmens have knowledge of the cosmos, or were they simply following ancient traditions passed down from even earlier ancestors? What can we learn from these silent stones, whose secrets continue to elude us? The dolmens of Marayoor, like so many ancient structures, remain an enduring mystery, a reminder of a time long past, yet still, in some ways, just out of reach. What truths might these stones still hold, waiting for a future generation to unlock their secrets? As the winds stir the trees and the shadows of the mountains stretch across the land, we are left to wonder, what is it that these dolmens are trying to tell us? And why, after all these centuries, does the mystery remain? As we leave the rich, enigmatic landscapes of southern India behind, we turn our gaze toward the rugged hills of the Caucasus. Here, nestled along the banks of the Kura River in modern-day Georgia, lies the ancient city of Uplistsikhe, a massive rock-cut metropolis that, for millennia, has been carved into the very stone of the earth. This remarkable site, whose name roughly translates to Fortress of God, is one of the most awe-inspiring and least understood urban settlements of the ancient world. Uplistsikhe is not a typical city, built with wood or brick, but one that seems to have emerged from the landscape itself, an intricate network of structures, rooms, and passageways chiseled directly into the soft sandstone cliffs. As you approach Uplistsikhe, the city seems to grow out of the mountain, its stone facades glimmering in the sunlight, a testament to the determination and vision of the people who shaped it. From a distance, the city's rough, jagged architecture may appear chaotic, imposing, almost alien, but as you move closer, the true scale of this rock-hewn wonder begins to reveal itself. At the heart of Uplistsikhe lies the Great Hall, an enormous, open-air space that once served as the city's central gathering place. Carved out of a massive rock formation, this area likely functioned as a place for public assembly, trade, and possibly even ceremonial rituals. The sheer scale of the Great Hall is astonishing. Its rock-cut walls are punctuated by large, rounded columns, and its stone floor, smoothed by centuries of use, suggests that this was a hub of activity and importance. But who exactly gathered here, and for what purpose? Was it a temple, a meeting place for leaders, or something else entirely? Beyond the Great Hall, the city sprawls in a dizzying array of stone structures, including homes, storage spaces, workshops, and even a theater. The most striking feature of Uplistsikhe, however, is its system of tunnels and passageways, which snake through the rock, connecting different parts of the city in ways that seem almost labyrinthine. The tunnels suggest that Uplistsikhe was more than just a fortress. It was a city with complex infrastructure, built to accommodate its people's needs and protect them from the outside world. Some of the passageways even lead to hidden chambers, their purposes unclear. Were they used for storage, religious ceremonies, or perhaps something far more mysterious? One of the most intriguing elements of Uplistsikhe is its unique blend of cultures. While it is widely accepted that the city was initially founded by the ancient Kartvelian peoples, it also bears the mark of several different civilizations over the centuries. Uplistsikhe was later influenced by Hellenistic, Roman, and Christian traditions, which is reflected in the variety of architectural styles present at the site. The rock-cut structures give the city an almost timeless quality, part ancient fortress, part temple complex, and part urban settlement. At the heart of these influences lies the Uplistsikhe Cave Complex, a set of ritualistic chambers carved into the sandstone hills, believed to have been used for religious or spiritual purposes. These chambers, unlike the simple homes or shops scattered throughout the city, are intricately designed and may have served as places of worship or communion with the divine. The Christian church, built in the 5th century CE, is one of the most well-preserved and revealing structures in the city, highlighting the shift in religious practices over the centuries. But why did the builders of Uplistsikhe choose such a remote location for their sacred space? Could it have been connected to the cosmic or astronomical beliefs of the time? Despite the impressive nature of Uplistsikhe's rock-hewn architecture, much of its history remains enigmatic. One of the most persistent mysteries surrounding the city is its origins. The site's founding is generally attributed to the early Bronze Age, around 1000 BCE, but its true purpose remains unclear. Was Uplistsikhe a fortress designed to defend against invaders, a spiritual center for ancient religious practices, or a commercial hub for the thriving trade routes that passed through the region? The archaeological evidence is inconclusive. While there are signs of trade, such as imported pottery and artifacts, the absence of written records from the earliest period leaves us with little to guide our understanding. Further complicating the mystery is the abandonment of Uplistsikhe. By the 12th century CE, the city was largely deserted. What led to the decline of such a powerful and strategically located settlement? Some historians suggest that the Mongol invasions may have played a role in the city's downfall, while others speculate that it may have been due to climatic shifts or a changing political landscape. Could it have been the rise of new powers, or the redistribution of trade routes that caused Uplistsikhe to fall into obscurity? Or was there another, more mysterious force at work? What makes Uplistsikhe even more puzzling is the city's construction. While it is clear that the city's creators had a remarkable understanding of architecture and engineering, there are still many unanswered questions about how they were able to construct such a vast and complex city entirely within the rock. How did the builders transport the enormous stones used to form the city's walls and structures? How were the intricate tunnels and chambers carved with such precision? Some have proposed that the builders may have had access to lost techniques or tools that have not survived the passage of time. Could they have been guided by knowledge passed down from earlier civilizations? Or was there something more advanced at play in the construction of Uplistsikhe? The city's labyrinthine tunnels, its network of chambers, and its grand rock-cut halls all speak of a people with a deep understanding of both the earth and the heavens. Was Uplistsikhe designed as a place of spiritual enlightenment, or was it a fortified city designed to withstand invaders? Perhaps it was both, an ancient city of the living and the divine, where the boundaries between the sacred and the earthly were meant to blur. As we wander through the ancient corridors of Uplistsikhe, its quiet stone walls stand as a reminder of a time long past. The city's mysteries still linger in the air, beckoning us to explore deeper. What was the true purpose of Uplistsikhe? Was it simply a refuge from invaders, or did it hold deeper, more cosmic significance for its builders? And most intriguingly, what knowledge or secrets may still be hidden within its rock-hewn passages? As the sun sets over the cliffs of Uplistsikhe, casting long shadows across the stones, we are left to ponder. What truths are still buried in this ancient city, and what will it take for us to uncover them? As we leave the rock-carved city of Uplistsikhe behind, we journey eastward across the vast and ancient landscapes of the Indian subcontinent. Nestled within the rugged hills of Rajgir, in the state of Bihar, lies a place that has long confounded historians, archaeologists, and travelers alike: the Cyclopean fortifications of Rajgir. Unlike the more well-known monumental structures of the world, these megalithic walls are hidden away in the folds of nature's embrace, their secrets waiting to be uncovered. For centuries, the towering stone ramparts have stood as silent witnesses to the rise and fall of civilizations. But what are they really? And why, after all this time, do they still evoke a sense of awe and mystery? The Cyclopean walls of Rajgir are an imposing sight. They stretch across the hillsides like the remnants of some ancient, colossal fortress. These walls, made of massive stones weighing several tons each, are built with no mortar, yet they fit together so precisely that even the finest tools of modern archaeology cannot discern the space between the stones. The sheer scale and craftsmanship are mind-boggling, leaving one to wonder how, with seemingly rudimentary technology, such enormous structures could have been erected. The fortifications, built atop granitic hills, seem to follow the natural contours of the landscape. From a distance, the walls appear like natural outcroppings, as though the very rock had been shaped by some unknown hand. As you approach the site, the scale of the construction becomes more apparent, and you are struck by the sophistication and purpose behind such an endeavor. The walls snake through the landscape, surrounding a series of enclosed areas, some flat, some terraced, hinting at a complex settlement or citadel once hidden behind them. At the heart of the Rajgir Cyclopean fortifications is a vast network of gates, bastions, and watchtowers, suggesting a well-organized military or defensive complex. Yet, despite the fort's strategic placement and massive size, there is little evidence of the fortress's original purpose. Was it a military stronghold, a religious site, or was it something else entirely, something that has been lost to time? The earliest traces of this structure point to the Mahajanapada period, around the 6th to 4th centuries BCE, when Rajgir was a prominent center of power in ancient India. The Vajji Confederacy, one of the ancient kingdoms mentioned in Buddhist and Jain texts, is thought to have occupied this area. However, while the texts describe Rajgir as a flourishing city and a prominent center for early Indian civilization, the fortifications themselves seem to predate this period, suggesting that the site's history stretches back further, possibly even to the Bronze Age. So, who were the people that built these massive walls, and why did they choose such a difficult and rugged location? The area is surrounded by steep hills, dense forests, and the seasonal monsoon rains, making it a difficult place to live. Yet the builders chose to carve out this fortress-like structure, seemingly designed to withstand the test of time and nature. Did they have access to knowledge or resources that allowed them to construct such durable and imposing walls, or was it the result of some forgotten technology? The true origins of the walls remain a mystery. While scholars point to the Mahajanapada and Buddhist periods for their construction, there are no definitive records that tell us exactly when or why they were built. Some have proposed that these Cyclopean walls were built as defensive fortifications, guarding against invasions or natural disasters. The fortress-like quality of the walls and the steep cliffs around them certainly suggest a stronghold of some kind. But if it was purely a military structure, why such complexity and precision? Why would such effort be put into a site that seems to have had a relatively isolated location, far from the centers of trade and political power? One possible answer lies in the belief that the fortifications of Rajgir were not merely a defensive structure, but were built to mark a sacred space, perhaps even a ritual center. Some scholars have pointed out the spiritual significance of the region, noting that Rajgir was a place of pilgrimage for both Buddhists and Jains, and that it is mentioned in both religious texts as a site of great significance. The presence of Buddhist caves, temples, and hot springs scattered across the region suggests that Rajgir may have been a center of spiritual activity long before it became a seat of political power. Could the fortifications have served as a sanctuary, a protected space for religious rituals, or a sacred fortress designed to shield the divine from the encroaching world? Some even speculate that these walls may have been constructed as part of a larger cosmic design, aligning with astronomical events or celestial bodies. The arrangement of the walls and gates, some of which are oriented toward specific directions, raises questions about whether the builders had a profound understanding of the heavens. Could the Cyclopean walls have been constructed in alignment with lunar cycles or solar events, creating a space designed to connect the earthly and the divine? And if so, why did they choose this particular site, and what did they believe they were protecting or invoking with these massive stone ramparts? Another mystery lies in the construction itself. How were these massive stones transported and placed with such precision? The stones, some of which weigh several tons, were carefully cut and fitted into place without the use of mortar. What tools did the builders possess to cut, shape, and lift these stones? Theories range from the use of advanced cranes or lever systems to the possibility of lost techniques that have since been forgotten. Some even suggest that the builders may have used magnetic fields or some form of earth-based energy to move and place the stones, though this remains speculative at best. Adding to the mystery is the fact that the fortifications of Rajgir seem to have been abandoned long before the rise of more well-documented civilizations in the region. By the time Mauryan Empire rose to prominence around the 4th century BCE, Rajgir's once imposing walls had fallen into disrepair. Why did such an advanced and complex structure fall out of use? Was it abandoned after a political or military defeat, or did its purpose change, perhaps as the center of power shifted elsewhere? As the wind blows through the silent, towering walls of Rajgir today, one cannot help but feel the weight of their mystery. These ancient stones, silent and unmoving, seem to hold within them secrets that may never be fully understood. Were they built for defense, for spiritual reasons, or something altogether different? What do the massive stones and labyrinthine passages of Rajgir's Cyclopean fortifications truly represent? And most intriguingly, what knowledge or wisdom have they kept hidden through the centuries? As we step back and gaze upon the immense ancient walls, the question lingers. What more is there to discover at Rajgir, a city whose true purpose may yet be concealed beneath the weight of centuries? And perhaps, in the silent shadows of these megalithic fortifications, some long-forgotten story is still waiting to be told. As we leave behind the imposing stone fortifications of Rajgir, we shift our focus to a different corner of the ancient world, one where the landscape itself seems to hold the secrets of forgotten rituals and cosmic alignments. In the rolling hills of Odry, Poland, a circle of stones stands, their presence as enigmatic as the cultures that left them behind. These stone circles, though often overshadowed by their more famous counterparts in Britain and France, offer a glimpse into a lost world of ancient belief systems and cosmic understanding. The site at Odry is not as widely recognized, yet it is a remarkable example of prehistoric stonework. Nestled within a forest clearing in southern Poland, the stone circles seem to emerge from the earth itself, partially obscured by time and overgrowth. The stones are large, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, yet still standing as silent witnesses to a long-forgotten past. Some circles are simple, just a ring of stones arranged carefully in a defined shape, while others are more complex, containing multiple concentric rings or distinct alignments. Despite their simplicity, there is something profoundly striking about them. The stones seem to pulse with a quiet energy, as if they are remnants of a more profound and ancient connection between humans and the universe. These circles, thought to date back to the Bronze Age, were likely built by the Lusatian culture, which flourished in the region between the 13th and 7th centuries BCE. The Lusatians were known for their fortified settlements and their burial mounds, yet little is known about their deeper spiritual practices. The stone circles at Odry appear to be part of this broader cultural landscape, though their exact purpose remains elusive. Were they simply ritualistic structures, or did they serve some more practical function, such as astronomical observation or calendar systems? At the heart of this mystery is the placement of the stones themselves. The positioning of the circles, some of which align perfectly with the cardinal directions, suggests a deliberate effort to track celestial events. The Lusatians, it seems, had a profound understanding of the stars. The rings themselves are not uniform. Some are large and imposing, while others are much smaller, perhaps indicating a hierarchical structure within the site. This begs the question, were the circles designed for communal gatherings, or were they used for more exclusive rituals performed by a select few? The most striking feature of the Odry stone circles is their alignment with the sun and moon. During the solstices and equinoxes, the stones form a dramatic silhouette against the sky, creating shadows that stretch long across the earth, much like the famous stone circles of Stonehenge in England. This alignment suggests that the builders of Odry were not simply arranging stones for aesthetic reasons. They were creating a cosmic map that reflected their deep understanding of the natural world. Could these stone circles have been used to mark the changing seasons, to track the movement of the sun, or even to predict celestial phenomena such as eclipses? While mainstream archaeological theories propose that the stones were part of a religious or astronomical site, there are those who believe the meaning behind the circles is far more profound. Some scholars suggest that the stone circles of Odry may have been part of a ritual landscape designed to facilitate a deeper connection between the earth and the heavens. Could these stones have been part of an ancient spiritual practice, one that sought to align human activity with cosmic rhythms? The precise purpose of these rituals remains unknown, but the careful placement of the stones suggests a people deeply attuned to the forces of nature and the cosmos. Further complicating the mystery is the lack of written records. Like many other prehistoric sites, the stone circles of Odry offer no inscriptions or written explanations as to their use. What remains is a collection of stones, each one bearing the scars of millennia, but standing as a testament to the intelligence and foresight of the ancient builders. Were they following a tradition passed down through generations? Or were these early stone architects tapping into some universal knowledge, perhaps even beyond their time? Some researchers have speculated that the Lusatians may have used these stones for astronomical observances, much like the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia or the Maya. Could the stone circles have been lunar observatories, tracking the phases of the moon and its influence on planting cycles or tides? Or were they perhaps part of a larger spiritual system, one that aligned with the movement of the stars? The idea that ancient peoples might have had advanced knowledge of the cosmos without the use of modern instruments is a fascinating possibility. Could the builders of Odry have been following a star map, using the stones to plot the positions of the stars and planets? Another possibility is that the stone circles were part of a ritualistic space, designed to facilitate communication with the gods or ancestors. The circles themselves seem to form a boundary, a place set apart from the rest of the world, where the earth and sky met in sacred union. Could these sites have been used for initiation rites or spiritual ceremonies, perhaps marking significant moments in the life of the community, such as the solstices or equinoxes? And then, of course, there is the possibility that we are simply not looking at the stone circles in the right way, that there is some aspect of their purpose that remains beyond our grasp. Could these stones hold a deeper meaning, one that has been forgotten over time? Are there hidden alignments or patterns that have yet to be discovered? The absence of conclusive answers leaves room for the imagination to wander. What if these stone circles, like so many other ancient structures, were designed not just to measure time or space, but to unlock the mysteries of the universe itself? As we stand before the weathered stones of Odry, their silent forms stretching across the earth, we are reminded that some questions remain forever unanswered. The stone circles, mysterious, silent, and enduring, are like cosmic sentinels, marking the passage of time while keeping their secrets closely guarded. Were they simple calendars, or was there something more profound at play? Could they hold the key to understanding ancient wisdom, or is their purpose forever lost in the mists of time? The stone circles of Odry speak to us across the ages, each stone a whisper from the past, inviting us to question, to wonder, and to seek answers that may never come. And so, as the sun sets and shadows stretch long across the stones, we are left to wonder. What knowledge, what understanding does this ancient landscape still hold? What is it that these stones are trying to tell us, and why have they remained silent for so long? As we leave behind the timeless stone circles of Odry, we find ourselves drifting southward to the sunlit shores of Crete, the largest of the Greek islands, where a more familiar yet equally perplexing enigma awaits: the Palace of Knossos. Famous for its connection to the Minoan civilization, Knossos stands as one of the most iconic archaeological sites in the ancient world. However, beneath its intricate frescoes, labyrinthine corridors, and majestic courtyards, lies a mystery that has long puzzled scholars: the unknown Pre-Minoan phase of the palace. What was this enigmatic period that predated the flourishing Minoan culture, and what secrets might be hidden within the layers of stone and history? The ruins of Knossos are sprawling, covering over 20,000 square meters, and they are as visually striking as they are archaeologically significant. Massive stone walls still stand, their once vibrant frescoes now faded with age, but still hinting at a world of elaborate rituals and artistic expression. These walls, filled with images of bulls, ships, and processions, tell the story of the Minoans, a civilization that dominated the Aegean between 1450 and 1100 BCE. Yet, as we venture deeper into the ruins, there is another story, one that dates back centuries earlier, to a time before the Minoans left their unmistakable mark on the palace. It is this earlier phase, the Pre-Minoan Knossos, that remains shrouded in mystery. The Pre-Minoan phase of the palace is not something that can be easily seen. Unlike the grand columns and vibrant frescoes of the later Minoan period, much of the evidence for the earlier settlement is buried beneath the more famous layers of the palace. Excavations have revealed that the site was inhabited as far back as the Neolithic period, around 7000 BCE, but it was during the Middle Minoan period, around 1900 BCE, that the first real indications of a palace structure begin to emerge. This earlier phase, before the Minoan palace was rebuilt in all its grandeur, suggests a very different world, one that existed long before the luxurious Minoan court was established. One of the most striking features of the pre-Minoan phase at Knossos is the sheer magnitude and complexity of its megalithic foundations. Large, rough-hewn stones, much larger and more substantial than the later, more refined Minoan blocks, form the base of what would eventually become the palace. These megalithic structures are thought to have been the work of a society that was still in the midst of transitioning from earlier agricultural communities to a more complex, urbanized existence. The pre-Minoans of Knossos were likely building not just for practical needs but for ritual as well, suggesting that the site was more than just a settlement. It may have served as a ritual center, a place of great spiritual significance. What makes the pre-Minoan phase of Knossos particularly intriguing is its connection to the broader Aegean world and the mysteries of the cultures that came before the Minoans. Scholars agree that the Minoans were not an isolated society. They were connected to other civilizations around the Mediterranean through trade, influence, and shared cultural practices. Yet the pre-Minoan people of Knossos seem to be a forgotten or mysterious people, whose traces remain elusive. Who were they? And why do they seem to have left so little behind in terms of written records or distinct cultural markers? It is also worth noting that the Minoans themselves are shrouded in mystery. Though their palace at Knossos is one of the most extensively studied sites in the ancient world, many aspects of Minoan culture remain unexplained. For instance, the Minoan script, known as Linear A, has yet to be fully deciphered. So if the Minoans left us with no written records of their earlier period, might the pre-Minoan phase of Knossos have been similarly cryptic, perhaps even more so, as it predates the Minoans' advanced systems of writing and architecture? Beyond the physical structures, there are also artifacts that hint at the nature of the pre-Minoan inhabitants of Knossos. Early pottery fragments have been discovered, some bearing designs that are distinct from the later Minoan motifs. These early ceramics, often coarse and functional, reveal a society that was likely focused on survival and the organization of food production, rather than the ornate and symbolic craftsmanship for which the Minoans would become famous. Yet, the presence of some intricate and decorative elements suggests that the pre-Minoans were capable of great artistic expression, even if their culture did not leave behind the sophisticated iconography that would later characterize Minoan art. The most enigmatic aspect of the pre-Minoan phase of Knossos, however, is the absence of clear evidence regarding the transition from these earlier people to the more flourishing Minoan society. How did such a primitive society give rise to one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient world? Was there a cultural exchange between the pre-Minoans and the incoming Minoans? Or was there some form of external influence, perhaps from the Near East or North Africa, that brought about the monumental changes in society, architecture, and art? Some speculate that the pre-Minoans were not simply absorbed by the incoming Minoan elite, but that the two groups existed side by side, with the older society slowly fading into the background as the Minoans took the reins of power. Could the pre-Minoans have been displaced or even wiped out by the newer, more advanced Minoan culture? Or did they evolve, blending their traditions with the more sophisticated practices of the Minoans? One of the most intriguing theories surrounding the pre-Minoan phase of Knossos is the suggestion that the Minoan palace, in its earlier form, may have been a sacred center devoted to more mysterious or even esoteric practices. Some have proposed that it was not just a political or economic center, but a site devoted to the worship of a hidden deity or cosmic forces. Could the transition from the pre-Minoan to the Minoan culture have involved a shift in religious focus? If so, what spiritual practices were being observed at Knossos before the rise of the more well-known Minoan deities like Minos, Poseidon, and the Mother Goddess? Today, as we stand amid the ruins of Knossos, it is impossible not to feel the weight of history pressing down. The stone foundations of the pre-Minoan phase lie beneath the later layers of the palace, holding their secrets deep within the earth. We are left with fragments of this forgotten world, strange artifacts, rough-hewn stones, and a tantalizing glimpse of a people who came before the splendor of the Minoan age. But the questions remain. What was Knossos like before the Minoans? What happened to the people who inhabited the pre-Minoan palace, and how did their world evolve into the one that we recognize as the Minoan civilization? The pre-Minoan phase of Knossos is one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world, an enigma that still waits to be unraveled. And as we continue our exploration of this fascinating site, we must ask, what hidden truths are still waiting to be uncovered beneath the layers of Knossos? As we move westward from the sun-drenched shores of Crete, our journey takes us to the distant coastlines of South Korea, where another ancient mystery unfolds beneath the shadows of time. On Ganghwa Island, just off the coast near Seoul, a remarkable collection of dolmens lies scattered across the landscape. These monumental stone structures, known as the Ganghwa Dolmen Fields, are an awe-inspiring testament to a long-lost civilization. Yet despite the wealth of information available about their construction and use, the true meaning of these dolmens remains as enigmatic as the people who built them. Nestled within the rolling hills and verdant fields of Ganghwa, the dolmens appear as if they have risen from the earth itself. These massive stones, some weighing several tons, are arranged in a manner that suggests both precision and intent. Standing tall above the surrounding landscape, the dolmens are striking in their simple yet imposing form, large flat stones balanced atop vertical pillars, creating a series of tomb-like structures that seem to echo the mysteries of an ancient past. The sheer size and scale of these megalithic tombs are difficult to comprehend, especially when considering the primitive tools that the builders must have had at their disposal. The Ganghwa Dolmen Fields are part of a much larger network of dolmens found throughout the Korean peninsula. These structures, which date back to around the Bronze Age, circa 1000 BCE to 300 BCE, are scattered across various regions. Yet the ones found on Ganghwa Island are among the most well-preserved and studied. The site consists of over 30 dolmens, with the majority arranged in groups, forming an intricate landscape that seems to tell a story of ancient rituals and ancestral worship. Many of the dolmens are aligned in specific orientations, leading researchers to believe that the site was designed with an astronomical purpose in mind. At first glance, the dolmens appear to be mere burial sites, large stones placed over the bodies of the dead. And indeed, this seems to be their primary function. The practice of erecting dolmens as tombs can be found in many parts of the world, from Western Europe to China. Yet the dolmens of Ganghwa stand apart from other megalithic tombs due to their distinctive style and their impressive scale. Some of the dolmens at Ganghwa measure over 2 meters in height, and their capstones are massive slabs of granite, which would have required immense effort to move and place. These are not simple graves. They are monumental works of engineering, requiring careful planning, resources, and manpower. The true purpose of these dolmens, however, remains a subject of ongoing speculation. While it is widely accepted that they served as burial sites, their specific function within the larger context of the society that built them is unclear. Were they designed to house the remains of powerful elites, as many researchers suggest, or did they serve a more communal or spiritual purpose? Were these dolmens part of a larger religious or ritualistic landscape, where the dead were honored and connected to the divine? The precise nature of the Ganghwa dolmen builders is another mystery. Little is known about the people who created these massive tombs. Some theories suggest that the builders were part of the Gojoseon Kingdom, one of the earliest known Korean states. This kingdom, which existed from around the 7th century BCE, is often associated with the early development of Korean culture. But beyond these broad historical markers, the details of the dolmen builders' identity and their social structure remain largely unknown. Were they part of a hunter-gatherer society, or had they already begun to form the complex agricultural communities that would define later Korean civilization? And what, if anything, do the dolmens say about their beliefs regarding death, the afterlife, and the cosmos? One of the most intriguing features of the Ganghwa dolmen fields is their astronomical alignment. Many of the dolmens are oriented in a manner that suggests they may have been used to track the movements of the sun, moon, or stars. This alignment points to the possibility that the builders of these dolmens were not only interested in honoring their dead, but in marking the passage of time, the changing seasons, and perhaps even the movement of celestial bodies. Could these dolmens have been part of a larger ritual calendar, marking significant astronomical events such as the solstices or equinoxes? If so, this would suggest that the builders of Ganghwa were more than just early tomb builders. They may have had a sophisticated understanding of the natural world, one that connected the heavens and the earth in ways we can only begin to understand. Adding to the mystery is the fact that the Ganghwa dolmen fields remain relatively unexplored compared to other megalithic sites across the globe. While the dolmens have been studied to some extent by archaeologists, many aspects of the site remain under-researched. For example, it is unclear whether the dolmens were used for multiple generations, or whether they were monumental tombs for individual families, as some researchers have suggested. The fact that the dolmens are not located in a dense urban center or around the ruins of a major city only deepens the mystery. What kind of society built these massive structures, and why did they choose such a remote and difficult location? Some researchers have even proposed more speculative theories about the dolmens of Ganghwa. Could these stones have had ritual significance beyond their use as tombs? Some have suggested that the dolmens may have served as gateways to the spirit world, aligning with beliefs that were common in many ancient cultures, where the dead were believed to pass through portals to another realm. Others have speculated that the dolmens were designed not just to honor the dead, but to communicate with forces beyond the physical world, perhaps even involving astral projection or divination. The lack of written records from the time of the dolmen builders only compounds these questions. Unlike many ancient cultures that left behind written texts to help explain their practices, the builders of the Ganghwa dolmens left no such documentation. What, then, can we deduce from the physical evidence alone? Are the dolmens a testament to a lost knowledge, a glimpse into an ancient worldview that we will never fully comprehend? Or are they simply the remnants of a ritualistic culture whose true significance has been lost to time? As we stand before the dolmens of Ganghwa Island, the sheer scale of the stones and the precision of their arrangement is staggering. These silent sentinels, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, seem to guard their secrets, refusing to reveal their true purpose. The stone walls, the eerie silence, the sense of something greater just beyond our understanding, all of it beckons us to ask, what might we still be missing about the dolmens of Ganghwa? Could there be an answer hidden in the alignment of the stones, in the rhythms of the sun and the moon, or in the faintest traces of a culture long forgotten? The mystery remains, inviting us to wonder what ancient truths may yet be concealed beneath these weathered stones. As we leave the ancient stone structures of Ganghwa Island, we turn our gaze westward, across the Mediterranean, to the rugged shores of Menorca, one of the Balearic Islands off the coast of Spain. Here, among the windswept hills and craggy coastline, a mysterious set of megalithic structures stand as silent witnesses to a long-forgotten civilization. These are the Taulas, towering stone constructions that have intrigued archaeologists and historians for centuries. Much like their distant cousins in the ancient world, the Taulas stand as monumental enigmas, their purpose, origins, and meaning still largely unknown. The Taulas are unlike any other megalithic structures found in Europe. The term taula, which means table in Catalan, is fitting given the structure's form. These monuments are composed of two massive stones, a vertical pillar, often standing several meters tall, supporting a large, flat, horizontal stone on top. The combination creates a table-like shape, with the capstone appearing almost as if it were laid across the pillar in a precarious balancing act. These stone constructions, scattered across Menorca, number around 30 in total and are found mostly in the island's interior. Though their size and form vary, each taula retains the same essential design: two great stones, standing in defiance of time and the elements. The Taulas are primarily associated with the prehistoric Taliatic culture, which flourished on the island from around the 9th century BCE to the 2nd century BCE. This culture, known for its distinctive stone structures, including circular stone houses and fortified settlements, seems to have had a deep connection to the land and the earth. The Taulas themselves are thought to have served some sort of ritualistic or ceremonial purpose, but what exactly that purpose was remains elusive. Was the Taula a sacred altar, a place of worship, or perhaps something more complex, an astronomical observatory, a social symbol, or even a symbolic link between earth and sky? One of the most striking features of the Taulas is the precision with which they were built. The stones, particularly the large capstones, were carefully shaped and transported. No easy feat for a society with limited technology. How did the Taliatic people, with their rudimentary tools, manage to move and position stones weighing several tons? While some of the larger stones may have been transported using rudimentary sledges or rolling techniques, the sheer scale of the Taulas raises questions about the engineering knowledge possessed by the Taliatic culture. Could they have had methods or knowledge that have been lost to time? Was there something more advanced about their construction techniques than we are aware of today? Beyond the mystery of their construction, the function of the Taulas has been the subject of much speculation. Most mainstream theories suggest that the Taulas were used in religious or ceremonial practices. The design itself, two large stones, one resting atop the other, has a kind of ritualistic symmetry, suggesting that the structures had a symbolic meaning. Some believe that the vertical stone represented the male, while the horizontal stone represented the female, a pairing that would be consistent with the island's agrarian practices, where fertility and the cycle of life were central themes. The island's harsh, rocky terrain might have inspired a reverence for the forces of nature, with the Taulas acting as sacred markers of the island's earthly and cosmic energies. However, there are those who propose alternative theories that stretch beyond the conventional interpretations. Some have suggested that the Taulas were not simply religious symbols, but were part of a larger astronomical calendar. Could these stone structures have been built to align with celestial events, such as the movements of the sun and moon, just as many ancient stone monuments around the world were? If so, it would mean that the Taliatic people possessed a deep understanding of astronomy and the cycles of the heavens, much like their contemporaries on the other side of the Mediterranean. The placement and orientation of the Taulas, many of which face toward specific geographical features, such as the horizon at sunrise, suggest a possible connection to the tracking of solar or lunar cycles. Yet another theory proposes that the Taulas served a more social function, perhaps acting as symbols of power or prestige within the Taliatic society. Some researchers have speculated that the Taulas may have been built by the elite to symbolize their connection to divine or cosmic forces, a way to legitimize their authority and demonstrate their control over both the natural world and the spiritual realm. The presence of these massive structures at the heart of fortified settlements raises questions about their role in social hierarchy. Could the Taulas have served as a focal point for ritual gatherings, a place where the community came together to celebrate important events, hold ceremonies, or mark significant points in the agricultural calendar? Despite the wealth of theories, the absence of written records from the Taliatic culture means that the true function of the Taulas remains shrouded in mystery. What little we know about the Taliatic people comes from their stone structures, as well as the few artifacts found in the area, but these remain frustratingly vague. The Taulas, though imposing, have no inscriptions, no detailed accounts of their use, and no clear answers as to why they were constructed in the first place. As we stand before these ancient monuments, the questions grow even more pressing. What inspired these people to build such massive, seemingly unmovable structures out of stone? Were they purely religious symbols, or was there something more profound and mystical at work? Could the Taulas represent a connection to a lost spirituality, a way of binding the physical and cosmic worlds? Or were they part of a more practical, astronomical function designed to measure and track the passage of time with celestial precision? Perhaps the most compelling mystery is the fact that, despite the many theories, we may never fully understand the purpose of the Taulas. These structures, silent and enduring, hold their secrets tightly within the stones. As the wind whistles across the hills of Menorca, brushing the weathered stones of the Taulas, we are left to wonder, what knowledge, what connection to the past do these ancient structures still hold? Could there be answers hidden beneath the dust of the ages, waiting to be uncovered? Or, like so many other ancient mysteries, will the Taulas remain a riddle, a symbol of a lost world whose true purpose may never be fully understood? As we leave behind the ancient Taulas of Menorca, we turn our gaze to the northern shores of France, where a landscape of stones sprawls across the fields like a silent testimony to a past we can barely comprehend. Here, in the Brittany region, lies one of the most famous and perplexing megalithic sites in the world, the Carnac alignments. Thousands of stones, arranged in long, winding rows that stretch across miles of coastal land, form a breathtaking sight. Yet beneath the beauty of these ancient formations lies an enduring mystery, a question that has eluded scholars and archaeologists for centuries. Why were these stones arranged this way, and what purpose did they serve? The Carnac alignments consist of an impressive network of more than 3,000 stones, some standing upright in rows, others lying on the ground in scattered groups. The formations are divided into several distinct sites, each varying in the density and arrangement of the stones. The most famous of these is the Menorca alignment, which stretches for over a kilometer and is composed of nearly 1,100 stones standing in parallel rows. Nearby, the Kermario alignment contains over 1,000 stones, and the Legnon alignment contains another few hundred. These massive stones, many of which are over 3 meters tall, have stood for millennia, weathered by the elements but still remarkably intact. The sheer scale of the Carnac alignments is staggering. These stones are not just placed haphazardly across the landscape, but arranged with careful intention, as though the positioning of each stone was part of a larger, intricate plan. The rows of stones often run parallel to each other, stretching across the fields in straight lines, as if they were placed there to mark a specific route or to align with some hidden pattern. The stones are believed to date back to the Neolithic period, around 4,500 BCE, making them older than the pyramids of Egypt and the famous stone circles of Stonehenge. Yet despite their antiquity, the purpose of the alignments remains elusive, and numerous theories have emerged over the years, each attempting to unlock the secrets of these enigmatic stones. The most widely accepted theory is that the Carnac alignments were some form of ritualistic or religious site. Many scholars believe that the stones were erected to mark the passage of time, acting as astronomical markers for the solstices and equinoxes, much like the ancient stone circles in other parts of the world. The idea is that the people who built the Carnac alignments were deeply connected to the rhythms of the natural world, and they used the stones to track the movements of the sun, the moon, and the stars. The fact that the rows of stones are often aligned with the sunrise or sunset at key points in the year strongly supports this theory, but there are many questions that remain unanswered. How did the people of the Neolithic era possess such a detailed understanding of celestial movements? And why were these particular stones chosen for the task? Some stones, such as those at the Menorca alignment, are large and imposing, while others are smaller and less significant. What determined their placement, and why did the builders go to such extraordinary lengths to arrange them with such precision? While the astronomical theory is compelling, there are alternative explanations that suggest other purposes for the alignments. Some researchers have proposed that the stones may have been part of a ritualistic or ceremonial complex, perhaps serving as a gathering place for ancient communities, where important social, political, or religious events were held. Given the layout of the stones, it is possible that they were used in some form of communal ceremony, where groups of people would gather at specific times of the year to perform rituals or offer sacrifices to the gods. This would explain the careful arrangement of the stones, as they may have been designed to create a sense of unity or shared purpose among the people. Another possibility is that the Carnac stones were constructed as a form of ancestor worship. In many ancient cultures, standing stones were used to mark the graves or burial sites of important figures, and it is possible that the Carnac alignments served a similar function. Could these stones represent the tombs of ancient leaders, their spirits immortalized in stone? Or perhaps the stones were meant to represent the ancestors themselves, serving as a link between the living and the dead, a way to honor the past and call upon the wisdom of the ancient ones. There are also more speculative theories that have emerged over the years, some even venturing into the realm of the paranormal. One of the more outlandish suggestions is that the Carnac stones are part of a lost, prehistoric civilization, a culture so advanced that it left behind no written records, but whose knowledge of the natural world was far beyond anything we can imagine. Could the builders of the Carnac alignments have been in contact with alien beings, as some have proposed? Or were the stones part of a cosmic communication network, a way for ancient people to connect with extraterrestrial forces? These ideas, though not widely accepted by mainstream archaeology, continue to captivate the imaginations of some, suggesting that there is much more to the Carnac alignments than we currently understand. Despite the myriad theories, the true purpose of the Carnac alignments remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. The stones themselves hold their secrets tightly, standing silent and unmoving beneath the windswept skies of Brittany. Were they astronomical observatories, places of worship, or markers of a forgotten, lost culture? Did they serve as a bridge between the heavens and the earth, connecting the ancient people to the divine, or were they simply a means of marking the passage of time? And perhaps the most compelling question of all, why do the stones still stand today? Why have these megaliths, placed with such care and intention, endured for over 6,000 years? Could it be that they are not just a physical record of the past, but a message that is still waiting to be understood? As we stand among these towering stones, the answers seem just out of reach, leaving us to wonder, what, if anything, are the Carnac alignments trying to tell us? As we leave behind the enigmatic rows of stones at Carnac, Our journey takes us across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, to the isolated shores of the Federated States of Micronesia, where another ancient marvel beckons, a place of staggering scale and mystery. Madol, a lost city built on a network of artificial islands, rises from the shallow waters of the Pohnpei Lagoon like a forgotten testament to a vanished civilization. Its massive stone structures, reminiscent of a colossal submerged city, appear to defy both time and the laws of engineering, their very existence challenging everything we know about pre-industrial societies. But while the size and grandeur of Madol are awe-inspiring, it is the unanswered questions that make this site one of the most perplexing archaeological wonders in the world. The Madol complex consists of nearly 100 man-made islets, constructed from volcanic basalt stones, that stretch across a lagoon. These islands are connected by a series of canals, resembling an ancient version of Venice, but built with stone rather than wood. The sheer scale of the construction is staggering. The largest islets are made up of massive stone walls, some of which stand over 20 feet tall and are formed from precisely cut basalt stones, some weighing several tons each. The walls are arranged with a geometric precision that hints at an advanced understanding of engineering, suggesting that the people of Madol possessed skills far beyond what might be expected for a society of their time. Despite the impressive nature of the site, there is still very little known about the people who built Madol or the specific purpose of its many structures. It is believed that the site was constructed sometime around 1100 CE to 1500 CE by the Citadel dynasty, a ruling power that controlled the island of Pohnpei for several centuries. The complex is thought to have served as a ceremonial center and the residence of the Citadel rulers. Yet, the complexity of the city, the precision of its construction, and the sheer scale of the work involved suggest that it served a purpose much greater than simply being a royal compound. One of the most remarkable aspects of Madol is the layout of the islets and their placement within the lagoon. The central islet, known as Nandawas, contains a series of ceremonial platforms and stone structures, many of which seem to align with celestial events, such as the solstices or equinoxes. This has led some researchers to speculate that the site may have served not only as a place of political power, but also as an astronomical observatory or ritual center. Were the Citadel people, like many ancient civilizations, using Madol to track the movements of the stars, the moon, and the sun? Could the city have been designed to align with key astronomical events, with the stones serving as markers for these significant moments in the celestial calendar? But there is more to Madol than meets the eye. The stones used to construct the city are huge, some measuring as much as 18 feet in length and weighing several tons. It is said that these stones were transported from quarries on the main island of Pohnpei. But how such an enormous quantity of stone was moved and placed with such precision remains a mystery. The fact that there are no visible quarries within the vicinity of Madol only deepens the puzzle. How did the people of Madol transport these colossal stones across the lagoon? Was there an ancient technique, perhaps a method of watercraft or floating the stones, that has been lost to history? Or was there some kind of engineering ingenuity at work here that we have yet to fully understand? The method of transportation remains one of the most enduring questions about the site. Beyond its scale and architectural prowess, Madol also harbors deeper mysteries related to its function and the fate of its builders. While it is widely believed that the site was abandoned after the fall of the Citadel dynasty, the reasons for its sudden desertion remain unclear. Was Madol destroyed in some catastrophic event, or did the people simply abandon it? Some researchers believe that the site fell victim to environmental changes, such as rising sea levels or increased erosion, which made the artificial islands less habitable. However, there are no definitive answers, and the exact cause of the site's abandonment remains elusive. Could it be that Nan Madol's fate was tied to the fall of the Citadel dynasty? Or did something more extraordinary, perhaps even supernatural, bring about its decline? Even more intriguing are the legends surrounding Nan Madol. In local Pohnpeian lore, the site is shrouded in tales of ancient kings, mysterious rituals, and supernatural forces. Some locals believe that the stones were placed by a powerful king with the help of magical forces. Others claim that the construction of Nan Madol involved the use of sacred knowledge passed down from the gods, possibly even involving some kind of lost ancient technology. There are also stories of spirits that guard the city, and of mysterious forces that continue to influence the site today. Could these legends hold a kernel of truth? Or are they merely a reflection of the mystique surrounding the ruins? Despite numerous archaeological surveys and excavations, much of Nan Madol's past remains hidden beneath the water, its full purpose still a subject of speculation. The mysterious nature of the site has led to a variety of theories, some more grounded in fact than others. Some scholars believe that Nan Madol was used for ritualistic purposes, while others see it as a symbol of political power and control. Could the site have been both a ceremonial center and a stronghold, a place where the rulers of Pohnpei exerted their authority over the surrounding islands? Or was it perhaps a spiritual sanctuary where the people sought connection to the divine? The mystery of Nan Madol is compounded by the lack of written records, leaving archaeologists to piece together its story from the stone remains. As we stand on the shores of this ancient city, the questions continue to linger. What was the true purpose of Nan Madol? Was it an astronomical observatory, a royal residence, or a ceremonial city of immense spiritual significance? How were these massive stones transported, and by what methods did the builders achieve such extraordinary feats of engineering? And why, after centuries of dominance, was the city abandoned so suddenly, leaving only ruins and whispers of its former glory? For now, the answers remain elusive, and the mystery of Nan Madol continues to captivate those who seek to understand the lost civilizations of our past. The city, submerged by time and the elements, waits patiently for the secrets of its creation and its fate to be uncovered. Perhaps one day, new discoveries will shed light on the lost world of Nan Madol. Until then, the stone walls, silent and unmoving, will continue to hold their ancient secrets, offering us only the smallest hints of a deeper hidden history. As we leave behind the tranquil waters of Nan Madol, we turn to a place deep in the heart of North America, a site that once stood as the largest pre-Columbian urban settlement north of Mexico. Cahokia, a massive mound complex located near the modern-day city of St. Louis, Missouri, is an ancient city whose significance and complexity are only now being fully understood. But before the towering mounds, before the ceremonial plazas, there was a stone city at the core of Cahokia, an enigmatic structure that has puzzled archaeologists for decades. What remains of this ancient city offers us a glimpse into the sophisticated and mysterious society that once thrived here, but its origins and purpose continue to elude definitive explanation. The Cahokia Mounds, state historic site, is known primarily for its mound structures, most famously Monk's Mound, the largest prehistoric earthwork in the Americas. But beneath these towering mounds, buried deep within the earth, lies an even older, more enigmatic core, a series of stone structures that seem to predate the earthen mounds themselves. This hidden stone city is an archaeological puzzle, with its massive stone foundations, precise alignments, and intricate layouts standing in stark contrast to the surrounding earthen mounds. What role did these stone structures play in the development of Cahokia? And why have they remained largely forgotten in the popular narrative about this ancient city? The stone core of Cahokia was uncovered in the late 20th century during archaeological excavations, revealing remnants of stone walls, foundations, and paved surfaces that appear to have been part of a large, structured settlement. These stone features are strikingly different from the more well-known earthworks of Cahokia, and suggest that the builders of this city possessed advanced knowledge of architecture and engineering. While much of the evidence has been lost to time, the stone structures that remain offer tantalizing clues about the city's original layout and function. The most intriguing aspect of the Cahokia stone city is its alignment. Many of the stone structures are oriented in a way that suggests a deep connection to astronomical events, such as the solstices or the movements of the moon. Similar to other ancient civilizations around the world, the builders of Cahokia may have used these structures to mark important celestial occurrences, linking the physical world with the divine. Could the stone core of Cahokia have served as an astronomical observatory, a place where the people of the city could track the movements of the stars and the seasons? Even more mysterious is the question of who the builders of this stone city were. The Mississippian culture, which built Cahokia, is believed to have been a highly organized society, with a complex social structure, religious practices, and a robust trade network. But who were the people who constructed these stone buildings? And why did they choose to build with stone rather than the more common earthen materials used for the larger mounds? Some researchers have speculated that the stone structures may have been built by an earlier pre-Mississippian culture, one that was wiped out or absorbed by the Mississippian people. Could these stone buildings represent the last remnants of a civilization that existed long before the rise of the Mississippian culture? Perhaps even an ancient civilization lost to history. As we delve deeper into the mysteries of Cahokia, we are faced with even more questions. What was the purpose of the stone core? Was it the heart of the city, a central point around which the rest of the settlement developed? Or was it something else? Perhaps a ritual center, a place where the ruling elite performed ceremonies and worshipped their gods. The layout of the stone structures suggests that they were carefully planned, with sophisticated urban design and precise alignments to the cardinal directions. Could the stone core have been the central axis of the entire city, with the surrounding mounds and plazas built in relation to it? The rise and fall of Cahokia itself remains one of the most mysterious aspects of this site. At its peak, around 1050 to 1200 CE, Cahokia was home to tens of thousands of people, making it the largest urban center in North America at the time. But then, around the 13th century, the city went into rapid decline, its population dwindling, its complex structures left abandoned. Why did Cahokia fall? Was it the result of environmental factors, such as deforestation, soil erosion, or climate change? Or was it due to social upheaval or internal conflict? Could the stone core of Cahokia provide clues to the reasons for its collapse? Was there something significant about this ancient city, something about its geography, its structure, or its relationship to the cosmos, that we have yet to understand? Further complicating the mystery is the possibility that the stone core of Cahokia may have played a role in the city's abandonment. The larger earthen mounds, which were likely used for ceremonial purposes, were still standing when the city declined, but the stone structures, so meticulously constructed, seem to have been neglected. Did the people of Cahokia stop using the stone core for some reason, perhaps because they had outgrown it, or had it become too sacred, too tied to a past they wished to leave behind? Were the stone structures abandoned when the city shifted its focus to the earthen mounds, or did the stone buildings symbolize something from the past that was no longer relevant to the evolving society? Despite ongoing excavations and research, much about the stone city of Cahokia remains unexplained. The lack of written records from the Mississippian culture leaves us with only fragments of understanding, with the stone structures themselves providing the clearest window into this ancient civilization. Was Cahokia truly a place of extraordinary cultural and astronomical significance? Or was it simply the result of a series of incremental developments by a people who knew how to use the natural resources around them to create something monumental? As archaeologists continue to study the site, we are left with more questions than answers. Standing among the remnants of Cahokia's stone core, we are forced to consider what else might remain hidden beneath the soil or forgotten by time. What knowledge was lost when this ancient city fell into ruin? Could the stone structures themselves hold a deeper meaning, one that still eludes us, despite our best efforts to uncover it? The mystery of Cahokia's origins, its purpose, and its eventual decline remains unsolved, but perhaps in these stone foundations, we are closer to understanding the remarkable civilization that once thrived here, long before our own. As we leave the ancient mounds of Cahokia, our journey takes us back across the Atlantic, to a place where myths, legends, and monumental ruins converge, Mycenae, one of the most storied archaeological sites of the ancient world. Nestled in the hills of Greece's Peloponnese, the ancient city of Mycenae was once a powerful center of civilization, its influence stretching across the Aegean Sea and beyond. But amid its grand palaces and fortifications lies a haunting secret, an enigmatic necropolis that has remained shrouded in mystery for centuries. The Mycenaean tombs, scattered across the landscape surrounding the city, are monumental in their scale and complexity, yet their purpose and the identity of their occupants continue to baffle archaeologists. The most famous of these are the beehive-shaped tombs, known as Tholos tombs, which date back to around 1500 BCE. These massive stone structures are not only awe-inspiring in their size, but also in their construction. Each tomb is built with a corbelled arch, a technique that allows the structure to reach impressive heights without the use of mortar. The tombs were covered by a massive earth mound, making them appear as if they had risen organically from the earth itself, as though they were part of the landscape rather than constructed by human hands. The treasury of Atreus, also known as the tomb of Agamemnon, is perhaps the most famous of these Tholos tombs. With its massive entrance, flanked by stone lintels weighing several tons, and its grand, circular chamber that still impressively echoes with the sounds of history, it stands as a testament to the Mycenaeans' extraordinary engineering prowess. But for all the wonder it inspires, the tomb raises several unsettling questions. Who were the people buried here? Why were such immense resources dedicated to these tombs, and what did they signify? Were these structures simply burial sites for the wealthy elite, or did they hold a deeper, more esoteric purpose? The tombs themselves are constructed with a sense of reverence, their design so precise that it suggests a highly organized society with the resources and knowledge to execute such ambitious projects. The Mycenaeans were master builders, and these tombs were likely intended to honor their kings and queens, perhaps even to symbolize their connection to the divine. But here, the line between fact and legend begins to blur. The Greeks of later generations, including Homer, would tell tales of the great warrior king Agamemnon, whose legendary return from the Trojan War ended in his tragic death at the hands of his wife, Clytemnestra. Was Agamemnon, the hero of the Iliad, buried here, in the grandest of the Mycenaean tombs? Or was his tomb simply a reflection of the myths that grew around his name long after his time? While the treasury of Atreus might seem like the most prominent of these tombs, it is far from the only one. Surrounding it are dozens of other Tholos tombs and shaft graves, deep pits dug into the earth and filled with rich grave goods, gold, jewelry, pottery, and weapons. These treasures suggest that the Mycenaean elite had access to vast wealth and trade networks, and that they valued the afterlife as much as their earthly existence. But why were such immense resources expended on burial sites? Were the dead simply laid to rest with their possessions as a sign of their social status? Or was there a deeper ritualistic significance to these burial practices? As we look deeper into the shaft graves, we encounter some of the most compelling and perplexing artifacts ever found in Greek archaeology. Among the precious treasures unearthed from these tombs are golden death masks, the most famous of which is the Mask of Agamemnon. This exquisite piece of craftsmanship, made of thin sheets of gold, is said to represent the face of a king, yet its true identity remains uncertain. Could this mask truly belong to the legendary Agamemnon, or is it the product of a later tradition, one that sought to link the actual historical figures of Mycenae to the epic figures of legend? The mask remains one of the most evocative symbols of the ancient world, blurring the line between history and myth. But the story of Mycenae's necropolis does not end with the treasures and tombs that have been uncovered. The real mystery lies in what we have yet to discover, for while the tombs reveal much about the Mycenaean elite, they also point to an ancient society that valued secrecy and ritual in ways that we have yet to fully understand. Could these tombs have been part of a larger, sacred complex, perhaps a place where the living communicated with the dead, or where the dead were believed to have the power to influence the living? Some have speculated that the Tholos tombs were not just burial sites, but ritual centers, places where the Mycenaeans performed ceremonies to honor their gods and ancestors. Could the tombs have been designed not just as final resting places, but as gateways to another realm? Further adding to the intrigue is the fact that these tombs were often sealed and buried over with earth shortly after their construction, as though to protect their secrets from prying eyes. Why were the tombs so carefully concealed? Were they intended to remain hidden for all time, or was this an effort to prevent grave robbers from disturbing the sacred remains of the deceased? If these tombs were indeed used for ritualistic purposes, then what was the true nature of the ceremonies conducted within them? Were the bodies of the deceased kings and queens of Mycenae believed to hold divine power, or was there some form of ancestral worship that required the tombs to remain untouched? Moreover, the layout of the Mycenaean necropolis itself raises more questions than answers. The location of the tombs, nestled on the slopes of the Acropolis, suggests a deliberate choice. Perhaps the ancient builders saw these places as gateways between the realms of the living and the dead. The grandiosity of the tombs, with their elaborate entrances and chambers, stands in stark contrast to the relatively simple homes of the common people. Were these tombs constructed with the belief that the rulers of Mycenae had special powers, even in death? And what of the mysterious decline of Mycenae itself? As the Mycenaean civilization faded into history, the tombs fell into neglect. Did the secrets of these tombs vanish with the decline of the civilization, or was their purpose always meant to remain hidden, a legacy to be rediscovered millennia later? As we stand before these ancient structures, the questions continue to linger. Who were the people buried here? Were they kings and queens, or gods in human form? What did these tombs symbolize, and how did the Mycenaeans view life, death, and the afterlife? Why were such immense efforts made to build these colossal tombs, and what was their true purpose? In the silence of the Mycenaean necropolis, the answers remain buried beneath layers of stone and earth, waiting for the next generation of archaeologists to uncover them, if indeed they ever can. The tombs of Mycenae still whisper their secrets, offering a glimpse into a world lost to time, where myth and reality intertwined in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. As we leave the ancient tombs of Mycenae, the journey now takes us eastward, to the Horn of Africa, where an ancient civilization once stood at the crossroads of trade, culture, and power. The city of Aksum, located in modern-day Ethiopia, was the heart of one of the most influential empires in the ancient world, famous for its monumental obelisks, palaces, and stelae. Aksum's standing stones are a testament to a civilization whose legacy is still felt today. Yet, beneath these towering monoliths lies an earlier mystery, a proto-period of Aksum marked by an array of standing stones that have left us with more questions than answers. Nestled in the highlands of Ethiopia, the standing stones of Aksum are scattered across the landscape, arranged in geometric patterns that have perplexed researchers for centuries. Unlike the later obelisks, which stand tall and solitary as symbols of the Aksumite kings, these stones appear in clusters, often grouped together in seemingly deliberate formations. Their size varies from small, weathered stones to towering slabs that reach over several meters in height. What is most intriguing is that, unlike the monolithic obelisks, which are unmistakably linked to the reign of Aksum's later rulers, these early standing stones seem to belong to a time that predates the Aksumite Empire itself. Who built these stones, and why? The first thing that strikes you when you visit the standing stones of Aksum is their mysterious arrangement. They are not simply isolated objects placed haphazardly in the landscape. Instead, they appear to be organized with a purpose. Some stand in linear alignments, while others are arranged in circles or semicircles, suggesting they may have had a symbolic or ritualistic function. But what that function was, no one is entirely sure. Some researchers believe these stones may have been markers of significant astronomical events, similar to other megalithic structures around the world, such as Stonehenge or the megalithic temples of Malta. Could these stones have been used to track the movements of the stars, the moon, or the sun? Was there an ancient Aksumite understanding of celestial patterns, guiding their agricultural cycles or religious rituals? Astronomical alignment is a common thread in many ancient stone structures. Could Aksum's proto-period standing stones have been part of an early attempt to connect the heavens and the earth? The question remains unanswered. While evidence of the Aksumite Empire's advanced knowledge of astronomy is well documented, with their impressive stelae pointing to specific celestial phenomena, these earlier standing stones suggest an even older tradition. How far back do these astronomical practices date? Were they unique to the Aksumites, or did they reflect a broader, ancient African tradition of sky worship, stretching back long before Aksum's emergence as a powerful empire? As we delve deeper into the history of Aksum, the standing stones seem to tell us something more about the people who lived in this land long before the great empire was founded. Who were these people? Were they the pre-Aksumite ancestors of the civilization that would one day erect the great obelisks and establish one of the most advanced empires in East Africa? Or were they a completely different group with their own distinct customs, practices, and beliefs? Some archaeologists suggest that the proto-period standing stones may be the remains of an earlier culture that existed before the rise of the Aksumite state. Was there an older, unknown civilization that laid the foundation for the future success of Aksum, a civilization whose traces were erased over time? One of the most intriguing aspects of the standing stones is their association with rituals. In many ancient cultures, standing stones were used as focal points for religious ceremonies or as markers for sacred sites. The Aksumite Empire, in its later phase, was known for its Christianity, but it is important to remember that before the arrival of Christianity in the region, the people of Aksum practiced their own indigenous religions. Were the standing stones part of these religious traditions, perhaps representing spirits, deities, or ancestors? Some have speculated that these stones might have been used to honor the gods of the earth or to mark burial sites, much like the stone circles and burial mounds found in other parts of the ancient world. In addition to their ritual significance, the stones may have also played a role in social organization. Archaeological evidence suggests that early Aksumite society was highly structured, with complex social hierarchies and a strong central authority. Could the standing stones have been a symbol of power or prestige? Perhaps they marked the territories or ancestral lands of powerful families or clans. Could they have been used as boundary markers, defining the reach of various factions, much as the later Aksumite obelisks marked the tombs of kings and nobles? Yet, for all the compelling theories, the true purpose of these stones remains elusive. There is no written record from this proto-period to give us definitive answers. The Aksumite Empire left behind some of the most advanced writing systems in the ancient world, but these standing stones predate the rise of that empire by centuries. Were they perhaps the last vestiges of a lost civilization, overshadowed by the more famous achievements of later Aksumite society? Or were they the foundations upon which the Aksumite rulers would build their grandeur, a silent testament to the ancient knowledge that the early people of this land possessed? As we stand before the standing stones of Aksum, we are reminded that history is often not a linear narrative, but rather a patchwork of forgotten stories, half-remembered legends, and unseen connections. The standing stones are silent witnesses to a time long past, their true meaning slipping further away with each passing generation. Could there be more to these stones than we have yet uncovered? What secrets do they still hold? As we continue to unravel the mysteries of Aksum, these stones remain an open question, inviting us to imagine the answers and to wonder how much more we might discover if only we knew where to look. As we leave behind the standing stones of Aksum, we venture further west, across the ocean and into the vast deserts of South America, where an ancient civilization, long forgotten, has left behind a remarkable and enigmatic structure. In the highlands of Peru, nestled between the rugged Andean foothills, lies the megalithic complex of Chankillo, an ancient site that has remained underappreciated in the shadows of other famous monuments like Machu Picchu. Yet, what Chankillo represents is perhaps just as significant: a solar observatory built thousands of years ago, whose purpose is only now being pieced together, layer by layer. The site of Chankillo consists of several elements: large stone walls, an array of towers, and a unique configuration of standing stones. The most striking feature of the site is its observatory, a long series of 13 carefully placed towers that form a perfect alignment. These towers, which stand like silent sentinels across the landscape, create a dramatic line stretching across the horizon. But what makes these towers so extraordinary is their connection to the sun. When viewed from a specific point within the complex, the towers form an accurate solar calendar, marking the sun's movement throughout the year with remarkable precision. They seem to trace the path of the sun as it moves across the sky, tracking the solstices and equinoxes with uncanny accuracy. For years, the site was largely overlooked by scholars. Chankillo was often relegated to the status of a minor archaeological site, its true importance overshadowed by the more famous ruins of the Incas and other Andean cultures. Yet in recent years, the site has started to reveal its secrets, offering a window into an ancient culture with a deep understanding of astronomy, one that predates the rise of the Incan Empire by over a millennium. This raises a fascinating question: who were the people of Chankillo, and how did they come to possess such advanced astronomical knowledge? The people who constructed Chankillo were likely part of the pre-Inca culture known as the Chankillo people, who lived in this area around 500 BCE. These early astronomers may have been the first to develop a solar calendar so precise that it could predict the annual cycles of the sun, potentially helping them in agriculture, rituals, and timekeeping. The presence of the towers suggests that the sun's path was not only an important part of their daily lives, but also had a deeper symbolic significance. Some researchers believe that the towers were part of a ritualistic landscape, designed to align with the sun's cycles and mark important events in the agricultural or religious calendar. But what was their deeper significance? Unlike other ancient observatories, which are often associated with the ruling elite or priests, the towers of Chankillo were likely public monuments, suggesting that the astronomical knowledge they embodied was not confined to a select few, but rather shared by the entire community. Was Chankillo a place where the people gathered to celebrate celestial events, or was it a more utilitarian structure, created simply to keep time for agricultural or social needs? The layout of the site also raises intriguing possibilities. The 13 towers are not merely symbolic markers. They form a solar alignment, marking the path of the sun from the winter solstice to the summer solstice. The site is aligned with such precision that it has been compared to other famous solar observatories, such as Stonehenge in England. However, Chankillo is older and far more geometrically sophisticated. The placement of the towers suggests that the Chankillo people had a sophisticated understanding of both the natural world and astronomical phenomena, possibly long before other cultures were developing similar practices. Could these people have been the pioneers of solar observation in the Americas? Adding another layer of mystery to the site is the enigmatic structure of the towers themselves. The 13 towers are aligned in such a way that the sun rises and sets between them at precise intervals throughout the year. This alignment is believed to have been used as a sundial of sorts, helping the Chankillo people to mark the seasons and calendar months. But why, then, are these structures so precisely designed? What motivated these people to create such a complex, mathematically rigorous system? Were they driven solely by a practical need to track time, or was there a deeper spiritual or cosmological purpose behind the tower's placement? In addition to the towers, the complex contains other features that suggest the site had additional ritual significance. Carved stones and other megalithic structures dot the landscape, pointing to the possibility that Chankillo was not just an observatory, but a ritual center. This raises further questions. Did the site serve as a place of worship? Were there ceremonies conducted here to honor the sun, the seasons, or the gods? Or perhaps it was a social hub, where ancient communities came together to mark significant celestial events and to reaffirm their connection to the natural world. The mystery of Chankillo lies not just in its precise alignment or the advanced knowledge of its creators, but also in the fact that it was built long before the rise of the Incan Empire and its more famous astronomical sites. How much of this knowledge was lost over time, and why was it only rediscovered centuries later? Could the knowledge of Chankillo's builders have influenced later cultures in the region? Some speculate that the Chankillo complex may have even been an important ancestor site, its astronomical knowledge passed down through generations, influencing the development of other South American cultures. What we do know is that Chankillo represents a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos, one that predates many of the great ancient civilizations we are familiar with today. Yet, like so many other ancient structures, its true purpose remains elusive. Was it merely a timekeeping device for agricultural societies, or was it a sacred space where celestial events were celebrated? What else might lie buried beneath the desert sands of Peru, waiting to be uncovered? As we contemplate the meaning of Chankillo, we are reminded that the past is never as simple as it may first appear. The site stands as a monument to human ingenuity, offering us a glimpse into a world that understood the rhythms of nature in ways that still puzzle us today. Perhaps the true significance of Chankillo lies not in its alignment with the sun, but in the profound connection it represents between the people who built it and the cosmos they sought to understand. What secrets still remain hidden at Chankillo, and how much more is waiting to be uncovered beneath the earth? As we leave behind the enigmatic solar observatories of Chankillo, our journey now takes us to a remote corner of the British Isles, where the past seems to whisper through the moss-covered stones. We find ourselves on the island of Anglesey, in Wales, standing before one of the most mysterious and fascinating megalithic sites in Europe, Bryn Celli. Though it is best known for its main chamber, the site hides an even greater secret in its lesser-known extensions, hidden beneath the earth, waiting to tell their forgotten story. Bryn Celli is an ancient passage tomb, a structure typical of the Neolithic period that dates back over 5,000 years. Located within a grassy field, its circular mound is crowned by a long, narrow passage that leads into a dark stone chamber. For centuries, The tomb was a place of both burial and ritual, its design aligning with the movements of the sun. On the summer solstice, sunlight streams through the passageway, illuminating the inner sanctum, casting long shadows and filling the chamber with a mysterious glow. This alignment suggests that the tomb had significant astronomical meaning, serving not just as a final resting place for the dead, but as a ritual site where the living and the dead were united by the forces of nature. However, while Bryn Celli's main chamber has been well studied and documented, it is the tomb's lesser-known extensions that remain a mystery, largely overshadowed by the more famous aspects of the site. These lesser extensions are not merely smaller chambers or passageways, but a network of stone structures that hint at something far more complex than we initially realize. What are these extensions, and why have they been left largely unexplored for so long? The first question that arises when standing before the monument is why there are multiple chambers at all. Bryn Celli, like many other Neolithic tombs, was built to house the deceased. Yet the presence of additional chambers and stone features suggests that this was more than just a burial site. It was likely a ritual center as well. But the function of these lesser-known extensions is far from clear. Some researchers believe that they were used for ritual practices, possibly related to the afterlife or to the worship of nature spirits. Could they have been spaces for ceremonial rites or offerings to the gods? Or were they perhaps storage rooms, used to house sacred objects or the remains of ritual sacrifices? While the main chamber is known to align with the solstice sun, the positioning of the lesser-known chambers suggests a more complex purpose. Were these chambers aligned with celestial bodies other than the sun? Perhaps they marked the positions of stars, or even served to track lunar cycles. The idea that Bryn Celli may have had astronomical significance on multiple levels is intriguing. Could these extensions be part of a larger network of Neolithic sites across the British Isles, linked together by a shared understanding of the stars, the moon, and the rhythms of the earth? Interestingly, archaeologists have suggested that the extension chambers at Bryn Celli were deliberately concealed or abandoned over time. Unlike other Neolithic tombs, where extensions are often carefully integrated into the primary structure, these chambers appear to have been sealed off or hidden beneath the mound. Was this done to preserve the sanctity of the tomb? Or was it a deliberate attempt to erase certain parts of the site's history? If the people who built Bryn Celli were ritualistically burying objects in these extensions, then what could explain the apparent effort to cover them up or conceal their purpose? Were they deemed taboo? Could there have been social or religious reasons for such secrecy? It's important to note that Bryn Celli, like many ancient megalithic sites, seems to have undergone significant changes over time. The sealing off of the extension chambers could indicate a transition in the beliefs or practices of the people who used the site. Perhaps the people who built the tomb originally saw it as a ritual space where the boundaries between the living and the dead were fluid. But later, as their beliefs evolved, the site may have been transformed into a more strictly funerary space, with certain aspects of the earlier rituals forgotten or abandoned. The question remains, what was lost in this transition? One theory suggests that the extensions were used for rituals surrounding death and rebirth, practices that were central to many Neolithic cultures. The idea of life after death was a recurring theme in many ancient burial sites, and the extensions at Bryn Celli might have symbolized the journey of the soul. Could the chambers have been places where the living communicated with the dead, where offerings were made to ensure a safe passage to the afterlife? If this is the case, then the purpose of these hidden chambers becomes even more significant. They could have been integral to the process of death and rebirth, hidden away for reasons we may never fully understand. As intriguing as these theories are, there are still many unknowns. While archaeological digs have revealed pottery fragments, animal bones, and traces of ritual fire, no one has yet uncovered any definitive evidence to fully explain the purpose of the extension chambers. Some have speculated that the site's original purpose might have been tied to an early form of earth worship, with the chambers symbolizing fertility, harvest cycles, or even cosmic regeneration. But no one can say for certain. One of the most compelling questions surrounding Bryn Celli's lesser-known extensions is why they were abandoned. Was it a matter of changing religious practices, or a decline in the cultural significance of the site? The mystery of abandonment is one that appears across many megalithic sites, structures that were once important ritual centers, but which were ultimately left behind, their meaning fading into the mist of history. Could the people who built Bryn Celli have left behind something more than a tomb? Perhaps they left us a sacred site that is now a time capsule, waiting to tell us more, if we are willing to listen. The story of Bryn Celli's lesser-known extensions is far from over. As researchers continue to study the site, new discoveries will no doubt shed more light on its hidden past. But until then, we are left to wonder what mysteries remain buried beneath its stones, waiting to be unearthed. The answers may lie just below the surface, but only time will reveal them. As we leave behind the enigmatic stone chambers of Bryn Celli, we journey across the Mediterranean to an island with a rich history steeped in mystery. In the rugged landscapes of Sardinia, there exists a lesser-known treasure, an ancient city of tombs hidden beneath the island's surface. The Domus de Janas, or Houses of the Fairies, is a vast necropolis that stretches across Sardinia's wild hills, a site that seems to defy explanation and elude our understanding of the ancient cultures that once thrived here. At first glance, the Domus de Janas may appear to be just another series of rock-cut tombs, but a closer inspection reveals something far more extraordinary. These tombs are not scattered randomly across the landscape. They form part of a grand underground city, etched into the very heart of the island. The tombs are carved into sandstone rock faces, their facades decorated with intricate designs, including columns, arches, and mysterious symbols. Some tombs even feature ritual spaces within, suggesting that the people who constructed them believed death was only part of a much larger, more cosmic process. The scale of the Domus de Janas is truly staggering. More than 3,000 tombs have been discovered scattered across Sardinia, with the majority of them concentrated in a few key locations. The largest group of these tombs can be found in the Anglona and Sassari regions, where entire valleys have been transformed into necropolises, stretching for miles beneath the island's rugged cliffs. Unlike other burial sites, which are typically isolated, the Domus de Janas is a vast network, a subterranean city of the dead, with elaborate corridors leading from one tomb to another, as though the dead lived in a community rather than apart from the living. What sets the Domus de Janas apart from other ancient burial sites is its unique architectural complexity. Unlike simple burial chambers, these tombs were often elaborately carved, sometimes to resemble miniature homes or palaces. Columns and doorways were cut into the rock, and many tombs feature false doors or windows, suggesting a belief in a realm beyond death, a world where the dead were not merely laid to rest, but continued to live in some form. The symbolism of these elaborate features is clear. The afterlife was not a mere end, but a continuation of life within a vast and intricate spiritual world. Yet, despite their remarkable design, the true purpose of the Domus de Janas remains an enigma. Who were the people who built this monumental tomb city, and what did these structures mean to them? The answer, much like the tombs themselves, is buried in the sands of time, waiting to be uncovered. The construction of these tombs is believed to have begun during the Neolithic period and continued into the Bronze Age, suggesting that they were used over a long span of time. But the culture that created them, often referred to as the Nuragic civilization, left no written records. We know little about their social organization, their religious practices, or their worldview. What we do know is that they were capable of extraordinary feats of craftsmanship and architecture, carving out entire tombs and burial chambers from solid rock. The construction of the Domus de Janas is a remarkable achievement, not just in terms of the physical labor involved, but also the cultural and spiritual significance of the tombs themselves. The tombs were often arranged in clusters, with families or groups of individuals buried together. Some tombs were designed for multiple burials, indicating a belief in the ancestral connection between the living and the dead. This suggests that the Domus de Janas may have functioned as both a burial ground and a place of remembrance, where the living could honor their ancestors and maintain their connection to the past. The mystical nature of these tombs is only heightened by their association with the name Houses of the Fairies. Local legend holds that these tombs were the homes of fairies or supernatural beings, entities who were said to inhabit the tombs and protect the land. Whether these myths are rooted in historical beliefs or are simply the result of centuries of local storytelling is unclear. However, the idea of supernatural guardians of the dead is a motif that appears across many ancient cultures. Could the Domus de Janas have served as ritual spaces designed to commune with the supernatural, to appease the gods, or to ensure the continued protection of the living by ancestral spirits? Adding another layer of intrigue is the mysterious symbolism found within the tombs. Many of the carved symbols and motifs found in the Domus de Janas are still not fully understood. The false doors and windows, common in many of the tombs, may symbolize a gateway between the world of the living and the world of the dead. But what else might these symbols represent? Could they be linked to celestial events, such as the movement of the stars or the cycles of the moon? Or perhaps they represent an early form of astronomical knowledge, as seen in other ancient cultures, like the Egyptians or the Mesopotamians. Another mystery lies in the burial practices of the people who used these tombs. While many tombs contain human remains, others are empty or contain only funerary objects, items that were clearly intended for use in the afterlife. Were these tombs meant to serve as temporary resting places before the bodies were moved to a more permanent location? Or were they the final resting place for those interred within? Why did some tombs remain untouched, while others seem to have been used again and again over the centuries? The Domus de Janas represents a deep, complex, and ultimately unanswered question about the ancient cultures of Sardinia. It is a site that continues to reveal new secrets with each excavation. Yet, for all that has been uncovered, we are still left with more questions than answers. Was the Domus de Janas a sacred space where the living communicated with the dead? A ritual center where spiritual practices were conducted? Or perhaps an early form of a city of the dead with its own social and religious hierarchy? How much of Sardinia's ancient past is hidden within these stone tombs, and what might future generations uncover as we continue to dig into the mysteries of the Domus de Janas? The answers may lie just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. As we continue our exploration of ancient structures that defy explanation, we move across vast plains, from the islands of the Mediterranean to the heart of Eurasia, where an even older enigma awaits. Deep in the southern Urals of Russia, nestled between the flowing rivers and untamed wilderness, lies the ancient fortified settlement of Arkaim, a site that has puzzled archaeologists, historians, and scholars for decades. The fortress of Arkaim is not just an ordinary archaeological site. Unlike many ancient settlements, it is perfectly symmetrical, a geometric marvel that spans over 4 hectares. The settlement is an enormous circle, surrounded by double concentric walls and a system of moats that once protected its inhabitants from the dangers of the surrounding steppe. Built with an exceptional level of precision, The walls of Arkaim were made from large, hewn stones, and the entire structure was designed to evoke a sense of harmony with the natural world. Its deliberate circular form is more than just a defensive feature. It may hold deeper symbolic meaning, suggesting that the people who built Arkaim possessed a profound understanding of both geometry and the forces of the universe. What is most striking about Arkaim is not just the scale of its construction, but its location. Arkaim lies within the Kurgan region, an area rich in prehistoric mounds and burial sites. Yet despite its prominence, it remained hidden for thousands of years, buried beneath the rolling hills and windswept plains of southern Russia. It was only in the 1980s, during a routine survey, that archaeologists stumbled upon the site, uncovering its massive walls and the remains of neatly organized streets and homes. But the true significance of the settlement would only begin to emerge after careful excavation. The settlement's layout suggests that it was not simply a military stronghold, as might be expected from such a large fortified site, but also a place of ceremonial and cultural importance. The presence of ritual structures, such as altars and sacred spaces, implies that Arkaim may have been a center of religious activity. Some have even suggested that Arkaim could have served as the birthplace of the Indo-Iranian peoples, pointing to the presence of ancient Zoroastrian symbols, like fire altars, within its walls. The precision of Arkaim's layout has led some scholars to speculate that the settlement might have had a cosmic significance, with its circular form possibly aligning with astronomical phenomena. In fact, certain aspects of the site suggest that its builders may have had an understanding of astrology far beyond what was expected for a people living in this time period. The settlement's entrances and the placement of its buildings seem to correspond to the movement of the sun, particularly the summer solstice, a time when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky. Could Arkaim have been designed not just as a physical refuge, but as a celestial observatory, attuned to the rhythms of the stars and planets? However, the true function of Arkaim remains shrouded in mystery. While its layout and structure point to a highly organized, advanced society, it is unclear who these people were and what their motivations were for building such an intricate and vast settlement. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence suggesting that the settlement was abandoned after only a few centuries, leaving behind few clues as to why such an advanced and seemingly prosperous civilization would disappear so suddenly. Some researchers have posited that Arkaim was part of a larger Indo-European cultural complex, but this theory remains contentious. The site's unusual layout and its apparent astronomical connections suggest that the people of Arkaim may have been a part of a mysterious, pre-Iron Age culture that has left no trace in the written records. Their connection to the Sintashta culture, known for their advanced metallurgy and horse culture, adds another layer of intrigue to the site, as it raises questions about the social and technological exchanges between the people of Arkaim and those of neighboring regions. There are also those who have suggested that Arkaim may be more than just a city or fortress. It could be a sacred center, built by an ancient society with knowledge and technology that surpasses anything we've been able to reconstruct. Some fringe theories have even proposed that the settlement was created by a lost civilization, a people whose advanced knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and construction was far ahead of its time. Could Arkaim be a relic of an ancient, highly sophisticated society, one whose influence spread across vast distances, leaving behind only fragments of its greatness? Others have pointed to Arkaim's mystical significance, suggesting that it was a place of shamanistic rituals, where the boundaries between the physical world and the spiritual realm were blurred. Was Arkaim's circular design meant to symbolize the eternity of the cosmos, the endless cycles of life, death, and rebirth? Could its creators have used the site for astronomical ceremonies, or perhaps as a kind of spiritual compass guiding the soul through the afterlife? Despite its seemingly ordinary location, Arkaim's sheer scale and complexity set it apart from anything else in the region. It serves as a reminder of how much is still unknown about the ancient cultures that once flourished across the Eurasian steppes. And while many aspects of the settlement have been uncovered, its walls, streets, and ritual spaces, the most profound questions about Arkaim remain unanswered. Why was it built in such a remote location? Why was it abandoned after only a few hundred years? And most intriguingly, why did it take thousands of years for the site to be discovered? Was Arkaim a cultural epicenter, a place of profound religious and astronomical knowledge? Or was it something else entirely? A temple? A ritual space? A city of the dead? As researchers continue to uncover more about Arkaim, the true nature of the settlement remains a tantalizing mystery. Perhaps, in time, more answers will surface, or perhaps the settlement's secrets will remain buried beneath the Urals for generations to come. For now, we can only look to the ancient stones of Arkaim and wonder, what knowledge did they hold? What did the people of Arkaim know about the universe that we have yet to understand? The answers may lie just beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. From the vast plains of southern Russia, we now move northward to the windswept shores of Orkney, a remote archipelago off the northern coast of Scotland. Here, nestled between the cold sea and rolling hills, lies a site of profound mystery. Skara Brae, one of the most well-preserved and enigmatic settlements of the Neolithic period. Skara Brae is not a city of towering structures or monumental tombs. Instead, it is a quiet, almost humble complex, but its story is one of exceptional discovery and remarkable preservation. Buried beneath sand dunes and left to the mercy of the elements for millennia, the settlement was brought to light by the forces of nature. In the winter of 1850, a fierce storm swept across the Orkney Isles, eroding the dunes and revealing the outline of what appeared to be a series of stone houses. Soon, archaeologists arrived, and what they uncovered was nothing short of extraordinary. An entire Neolithic village, dating back to around 3000 BCE, perfectly preserved beneath the sands. The layout of Skara Brae is striking. The settlement consists of a series of interconnected stone-built houses, arranged in a circular fashion. Unlike other ancient homes, which might be simple mud huts or wooden structures, the houses at Skara Brae are built entirely from stone, and each is remarkably well preserved. The walls are thick and solid, with interior chambers that give the impression of being a series of compact, functional homes designed for a tight-knit community. Each dwelling is carefully constructed with low, sloping walls, creating a sense of intimacy and shelter against the harsh northern winds. Inside, the houses are divided into smaller spaces, with low stone benches built into the walls and hearths at the center. Some of the homes have remnants of storage areas, while others feature signs of sophisticated craftsmanship, tools and implements made of bone and stone, intricately shaped with careful attention to detail. The overall design of Skara Brae's dwellings suggests that the inhabitants had a deep understanding of architecture and design, and it is clear that these were not simple shelters, but homes that supported a way of life with specific cultural and functional needs. Despite its simplicity, Skara Brae raises more questions than answers. For one, the settlement's construction seems highly advanced for its time. The houses were built using interlocking stone slabs, creating a construction technique that is strikingly durable, and the walls are designed to insulate the inhabitants from the harsh winds of the Orkney Isles. How did the builders of Skara Brae possess such knowledge of construction? And why, in an age when many other cultures were still building with wood or mud, did they choose stone? Some archaeologists suggest that the people of Skara Brae may have had access to sophisticated knowledge of materials, allowing them to work stone with an expertise that was uncommon for the period. There is also the matter of the site's mysterious purpose. Though the settlement seems to have been a functional village, with clear evidence of domestic life, It is not entirely clear why such a complex settlement was built in such a remote and inhospitable location. Skara Brae sits on the edge of a beach, near the sea, and its construction would have required considerable effort and resources. Were the inhabitants primarily fisherfolk, or did they have another purpose for their elaborate settlement? Were they connected to the larger cultural networks of the Neolithic North, or perhaps the European mainland? Given the isolation of Orkney at the time, the community at Skara Brae may have been part of a larger network of people, linked by trade, cultural exchange, or shared spiritual beliefs. But the evidence of this remains elusive. One of the most striking aspects of Skara Brae is its intricate craftsmanship. Artifacts recovered from the site, pottery, tools, and personal ornaments, suggest that the people of Skara Brae were highly skilled in crafting. Some of the items found are decorated with intricate patterns and designs that seem to echo later artistic movements, suggesting that the people of Skara Brae were aware of, and perhaps even influenced by, distant cultural traditions. This raises the question: how interconnected was Skara Brae with the broader Neolithic world? Was this isolated community in touch with other cultures, or were they uniquely self-sufficient? Adding to the intrigue of Skara Brae is the discovery of ritual items within some of the homes. The remains of animal bones, carved stone objects, and even traces of fire pits suggest that the settlement was not just a place of daily life, but also a site for ceremonial activities. Did the people of Skara Brae practice a form of spirituality that tied them to the land and sea around them? The presence of ritual objects raises questions about the role of the spiritual world in the lives of these people. Were they part of a larger tradition of Neolithic religious practices, or did they have their own distinct belief system? Perhaps the most puzzling element of Skara Brae is the mysterious abandonment of the site. Evidence suggests that the settlement was inhabited for several centuries before it was suddenly abandoned, sometime around 2000 BCE. But why did they leave? The settlement shows no signs of significant destruction. There are no signs of warfare or fire, and the remains of the houses are not damaged in any way. It is as though the inhabitants simply vanished, leaving behind their homes and their tools. What could have prompted such a sudden departure from such an advanced and well-maintained settlement? Was it a natural disaster, a shift in climate, or perhaps a more cultural or spiritual shift that led the people of Skara Brae to leave their homes behind? The mystery of Skara Brae remains unsolved. We know that it was a community of great craftsmanship and ingenuity, but we are left with more questions than answers. Who were the people of Skara Brae? What were their beliefs? What connected them to the wider world of the Neolithic North? And most hauntingly, why did they leave so suddenly, leaving their perfectly preserved homes and artifacts behind? As we stand before the ruins of Skara Brae, surrounded by the wild beauty of the Orkney Islands, the mystery of this remarkable settlement continues to call out to us, a silent testament to a people whose story has yet to be fully told. Perhaps one day more will be uncovered. Until then, we are left to wonder, what secrets do these ancient stones hold? And what will they reveal when we are ready to listen? As we journey deeper into the heart of Cyprus, we come across a site that, despite its significance, remains shrouded in mystery. The sprawling settlement of Cahokia, located on the island's southern coast, offers an enigmatic glimpse into a time long past. Here, amidst the hills and valleys of Cyprus, sits one of the most remarkable megalithic settlements of the ancient world, a place that, though deeply rooted in history, has left us with far more questions than answers. Cahokia is not a small, isolated structure. It is a massive settlement, a carefully arranged collection of stone-built houses that stretch across a gentle slope. Its sheer scale and architectural complexity are breathtaking. The site dates back to around 2400 BCE, making it a major Neolithic settlement. Its discovery in the 1930s and subsequent excavations revealed a sophisticated community that appears to have lived in these houses with remarkable organization and design. However, despite its impressive construction, there are still many aspects of Cahokia that remain baffling. At first glance, the stone structures of Cahokia appear simple, even rudimentary. The buildings are constructed with large, carefully shaped stones, forming walls that are then topped with a roof of flat stones. Each house is circular in shape, with thick stone walls that taper toward the roof. The buildings are arranged in a series of concentric circles, creating a sense of order and design that would have been impressive even by modern standards. The houses are not haphazardly placed, but seem to follow a specific plan, as though the community was governed by some central organization. Inside the houses, the evidence suggests that these people lived in a manner far more sophisticated than might be expected for their time. Stone tools, pottery, and grinding stones were found within the dwellings, along with evidence of domestic activities, cooking, weaving, and crafting. The size of the houses and the organization of the settlement suggest that the people of Cahokia were not simply subsistence farmers, but had a more developed society, perhaps with specialized roles or even early forms of governance. Yet, as impressive as the settlement's design is, it raises numerous questions. Why were the houses built so large and complex? The people of Cahokia seem to have an advanced understanding of architecture and engineering. Their circular homes, with thick stone walls and precise layouts, are unlike anything seen in other Neolithic settlements. How did they acquire the skills and knowledge necessary to construct such elaborate buildings? Did they have contact with other ancient cultures, or was this a unique development on the island of Cyprus? The quality of the construction suggests the possibility of external influence, but no definitive evidence has emerged to explain how these people were able to master such building techniques at such an early period. One of the most perplexing aspects of Cahokia is the layout of the settlement itself. The houses are arranged in concentric rings, almost as if the settlement was built according to a specific plan, a pattern that suggests a deeper cultural or symbolic meaning. Some scholars believe that the circular layout may have been designed for defensive purposes, with each ring offering protection for the inhabitants. Others suggest that the arrangement could have been linked to spiritual beliefs, perhaps representing the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. Still, the true reason behind the layout remains elusive. As with many ancient sites, there are theories that push the boundaries of conventional thought. Some researchers have speculated that the layout of Cahokia might not just reflect a practical or symbolic design, but might even indicate an astronomical alignment, an attempt by the people of Cahokia to mark the sun's passage or align the settlement with celestial bodies. However, these ideas remain speculative, and no conclusive evidence has been found to support such claims. What is undeniable, though, is the sense that the people who built Cahokia possessed a level of knowledge and intelligence that goes beyond the ordinary understanding of their time. Another point of intrigue is the abandonment of the site. Despite the settlement's impressive scale and the advanced techniques employed in its construction, Cahokia was eventually abandoned, sometime around 1900 BCE. The reasons for this sudden departure remain unclear. There are no signs of conflict or destruction, and the buildings themselves show little evidence of natural disasters or environmental changes. Was it a shift in social, economic, or cultural conditions that led the inhabitants to leave? Was there a dramatic change in climate or resources? Or perhaps, as some have suggested, was there an internal collapse in the community that caused the people to disperse? The abandonment of Cahokia leads us to a larger question that hovers over the entire settlement. Who were these people, and what happened to them? The sophistication of the architecture and the organization of the community suggest that Cahokia was more than just a typical Neolithic village. It was a settlement that may have had a complex social structure, a thriving economy, and perhaps even ritualistic practices that remain hidden beneath the stones. But despite decades of research, we still know so little about the people who lived here. Their origins remain unclear, and their sudden disappearance leaves us wondering whether the settlement's story was one of decline or something more mysterious. As we stand in the ruins of Cahokia, surrounded by the vast, windswept landscape of Cyprus, it's hard not to feel the weight of history. The stone houses stand as silent witnesses to a community whose story is still largely untold. They remind us that there are still ancient mysteries hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered. What drove the people of Cahokia to build such a massive and sophisticated settlement? What knowledge did they possess? And most hauntingly, why did they leave? These questions linger, unanswered, in the winds that blow across the ruins. Perhaps in time, the stones will speak, and the secrets of Cahokia will be revealed. Until then, we are left to wonder what remains hidden, buried beneath the layers of time.